Hey, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Kaylee, and this is a Read Rant Review, where, you guessed it, I read books and I do rant reviews. I read a bunch of crazy nonsense, and then I tell you all about it. Today, we are reading another Alice Feeney thriller book. Previously, I covered her book, Rock, Paper, Scissors, and a whole bunch of people under that video requested that I cover her other book, Sometimes I Lie. This was published in 2017, 387 pages, and currently on Goodreads, it's sitting at a 3.74 with about 340,000 ratings. After reading Rock, Paper, Scissors, I went into this book with maybe not like a critical eye, but I'm familiar with this author and maybe I'm kind of looking for the same pitfalls, or I'm looking for maybe some of the same issues, especially considering that this book was written, what's the math, 4 years earlier, you know what I mean? That maybe Rock, Paper, Scissors was after her like significant author growth, and I don't know what to expect with Sometimes I Lie, right? So I think 60% of the way through the book, and I clocked something that like, I'm gonna be so pissed off if I'm right. So I'm going to do this rant review up until this point that I've read. Like, I'm gonna tell you and get you caught up with where I am in the book. And then we're gonna finish it together so that like we can experience like irate rage together, and I won't like muddy the waters of the grand reveal that Alice Feeney will inevitably have. Her writing, I think, if I'm on the right track, is pretty formulaic, and I'm pretty sure I'm cracking the code. So we're going to experience that together. But before we do, and before I get any further into talking about her as an author or about this particular book, I do just want to provide a couple of like blanket disclaimers. The first one being, this review is not for Alice Feeney. It's not for friends, fans, family, stans, anything of the like. This will be a critical review. I'm going to crack jokes along the way. We're trying to have a good time. Say it with me if you know. Don't make it weird. Okay? That's all I ask. That's like my one rule on the channel. The other disclaimers that I like to put on my videos is that this will obviously contain all of the spoilers. I'm going to be giving you a beat by beat, chapter by chapter breakdown. And last but not least, a content or trigger warning. Let me look that up real quick and I'll tell you what's good. Or not good, I guess, actually. According to booktriggerwarnings.com, the trigger warnings contain drugging, emotional abuse, gaslighting, graphic R and SA. And I wish I could say those out loud to you, explicitly what those words mean. Maybe I'll put them on the screen. I'll see if I get dinged by the YouTube overlords. Don't yell at me. I'm sorry. Violence, also bullying, and a miscarriage is briefly mentioned. I don't know if you'd consider it a miscarriage. There's a loss of a baby. Maybe a loss of 2 babies from where I am right now in the book. So just heads up on that one specifically. And there's also OCD, like a lot of like representations of the main female character having OCD tendencies. I think that covers it, at least to what I have seen so far. I would not be surprised if there's other stuff, but so far that covers all the bases. If we come across something later, I'll be sure to give you a proper heads up, but I think that covers everything. So protect your peace, check out if you need to, no harm, no foul, do your thing. The book description: my name is Amber Reynolds. There are 3 things that you should know about me. 1, I'm in a coma. 2, my husband doesn't love me anymore. And 3, sometimes I lie. Amber wakes up in a hospital. She can't move. She can't speak. She can't open her eyes. She can hear everyone around her, but they have no idea. Amber doesn't remember what happened, but she has a suspicion her husband had something to do with it. Alternating between her paralyzed present, the week before her accident, and a series of childhood diaries from 20 years ago, this brilliant psychological thriller is something really This brilliant psychological thriller is something really a lie if you believe it's the truth. I stumble because the word is capitalized in the middle of the sentence, and there's no like commas or periods or punctuation that would justify that or anything. I don't know. That was really weird. If that's not indicative of the writing quality that we're about to get into. Yeah, I don't know. Again, if you're familiar with rock, paper, scissors, I don't really want to spoil anything for that, nor do I want to spoil the experience of this book if I'm right where I think this is going. Rock, paper, scissors, though, had a very similar vibe where you had like current day, 6 months ago, and then like a past experience tracking knowledge thing. And then the story kind of like interweaves, but then of course there's like a plot twist where it doesn't weave in the way that you think it will weave in, you know? And I think it's going to happen again. And I swear to God, if it happens the same exact way as that book, I'm going to throw a fit. So before I get myself worked up, let's dive right in. Okay, sorry. One final thing. I promise, please don't yell at me. Don't get mad at me, okay? Please. Thank you so much to all of the audio listeners over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I greatly appreciate you guys. And I also greatly super appreciate all of the patrons and channel members. You guys are all absolutely phenomenal. If you are over on Spotify or Apple Podcast, please continue rating the podcast. It helps so much. Or if you're on YouTube, please give a like and subscribe where you can. Holy frick. Oh, and the final thing. I swear to God, you can beat me if I say anything else after this. I made an Alice Feeney bingo card. I was in a meeting today and I was like thinking about this book and I realized, oh my God, I have a Colleen Hoover bingo card. I need to make one for Alice Feeney because all of her books, Rock, Paper, Scissors, this one, and then I watched the TV series for His and Hers. Is all I'm going to say to that. That's going to be my reaction for that one. I'm not going to read that book. Don't ask me. But the movie or the TV series is out there. That was crazy. That actually genuinely had a crazy twist where I was like on the edge of my seat. But my bingo card so far that I have, there's always a writer in some capacity, rainy weather, a car accident, some scary, ominous figure that sings. One of the characters is a news presenter. There's a horrific parent relationship. And then there's usually some type of like really awkward, weird sibling dynamic. Typically it's sisters where there's this like odd situation happening between them. And of course, infidelity. Because again, as I've said the last couple of videos, God forbid we have a book that does not include infidelity. I would love a thriller that does not include that. Please, for the love of God, if you know one, give it to me. Sorry, I already lost my natural lighting. Welcome to wintertime. The book is dedicated for my Daniel and for her. I don't know who her is in this context, but once we get into the book, you're going to understand why I'm making that face. Our book opens with Amber Reynolds. She is our main female character. She, I guess, comes to in some capacity in a hospital. She is currently in a coma, and she hears the nurses talking about her situation. Today is Boxing Day, but the night before, Christmas night, she was in a one-car accident. She was not wearing her seatbelt, flew through the windshield, and is now in a coma. They have tried to repeatedly contact her husband. They have not been able to get a hold of him. Eventually, though, her husband, Paul, does appear, and she immediately notes that there's something off with his voice. And immediately she's like, I know he had something to do with my car accident. I know he had something to do with this. Again, in the little description thing, he doesn't love me, right? Of note, when the nurses come back in to check on her while he's there, they make comments about his hand and how his hand is really, really injured, and how there's marks on Amber's neck apparently. And he's like, no, the hand thing's unrelated. Yeah, I don't know. And tries to blow it off. And then the hospital asks him about if they have gotten in any type of fights, or if he knows of any injuries that Amber has obtained recently, because she has bruising all over her body, and specifically strangulation marks around her neck. And then her husband has a fucked up hand. What are we doing right now, right? I'm just telling you how it is. I don't know why I'm sitting here questioning it, okay? I'm telling you what happens. She also learns in this comatose state of everybody talking around her, the whole no seatbelt thing, which she always wears a seatbelt. And also that she was driving her husband's car, which she never does. She never ever drives his vehicle, and she always wears a seatbelt. So immediately we have like a whole bunch of stuff that is like not adding up. The following morning, her sister, Claire, comes to visit her. And this is the weird like sibling headbutting thing that I kind of mentioned that is kind of a through line in a lot of Alice Feeney's writing. Claire was the parental favorite. Her parents absolutely, or their parents absolutely doted on her, and Amber has always been jealous of her sister. And there's immediate tension between Claire and Amber's husband, Paul, where they're just like beefing and like, I don't want to see you, blah, 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 like bickering over Amber's comatose body. Just like immediate, super bad icky vibes. And the icky vibes infiltrate Amber's state of mind because all of a sudden she starts like going in and out of like awareness of what's around her. And when she goes out of awareness, she gets the sensation of like flying through the car's windshield and like looking up in the road in the rainy weather and noticing this girl in a pink dress, like little girl, and the little girl is like singing. Again, Alice Feeney bingo card, check. What do you mean? Some time passes after Paul and her sister kind of like bicker. They leave the room. Paul eventually returns, as does, or he is joined by, 2 detectives who question him about his hand, question him about Amber. You know, where was she going that night? What was she doing? Why was she in your car? Why did your neighbor report hearing you guys arguing loudly? Like, how did we get here? What are we doing? And he has no answers at all, which is arguably the most like incriminating thing that he could have done in this situation. Really, all this like conversation and stuff ends with is her knowing in her core, right, that her husband did this to her. Like whatever the heck happened, he's the reason that she's here in the bed. And so she begins trying to like rack her brain, trying to remember the last couple of days. Like what led to here, to this, to what is going on, right? And we get our first like timeline shift to then, which is December 19th, so 1 week ago. So we have current day timeline, the 1 week ago timeline, and then in a minute we're going to be introduced to a third, because God forbid we make a story easy to follow, a third timeline of childhood, whatever era. Does that have a timeline? Hold on. Oh, that one's called Before. That's from like 1991. So we have now, then, and before. God damn, Alice Feeney. Okay, that's fine. Sorry, Gwen. Everybody say thank you, Gwen. She's the editor for the Thursday videos. Everybody say thank you, Gwen. So 7 days ago, December 19th, Amber is about to go and get dinner with one of the people who works at the company she works for. So 6 months ago, she started working for BBC. She's doing a morning radio show. She is a co-host. It's called Morning Coffee. She's been there. She's been working. It's been going like pretty okay. So she has a friend named Joe from the workplace that she's going to go and get dinner with. And I'm looking back at the notes and I'm realizing maybe the topic of the day on this first day that we get introduced to them, the topic is the psychological importance of imaginary friends. And I'm starting to wonder if this is going to have a play in what's happening and where we are now. Again, 60% of the way through the book, I would like to remind you, I'm just as like naive as you are in this current moment, okay? Does imaginary friends come back? Is this a foreshadowing or like a breadcrumb trail? Something like that? I don't know the terms. Does this matter? I think it will. But anyway, so that's the topic of the day. And then afterwards she goes to get dinner with the friend from work. While she's waiting for her friend to show up at the bar, she runs into her ex-boyfriend from college named Edward Clark. They kind of chit chat. It's a little awkward. She doesn't feel very attractive and she's married and he's like even hotter than he used to be. And she just feels very inadequate. And so it's a very brief conversation, but she can't help but notice him. And this also leads to her having some reflection about her current relationship and about how she is feeling like a growing distance between her and her husband, Paul, and how she's like pretty sure that her husband and her sister are having an affair because she like caught them drinking wine together at the house the other day. And it was just like really, really awkward, right? Like just not very good vibes. And her sister was wearing this like really fancy perfume and dressed up really nice. And she wants to keep like her marriage together, and she wants to like stay in this like facade of a happy marriage. So she doesn't even want to like ask Paul about this and doesn't even want to bring her up at all. But the harder I try to hold us together, the faster we fall apart. The other thing to note is that there is a growing weird tension, and there has been over the course of this like 6 months that Amber has worked at the radio show, right? I said she's a co-host. So the main host is named Madeline, and they are beefing. These two do not get along. Madeline is portrayed as a very like prissy is maybe the word, snobby, like knows what she wants, will get it, will step on anyone to do so, doesn't care, like she wants what she wants type of thing. And so Amber and Madeline have continued to butt heads, and Amber feels like she is about to get fired because the company or the morning radio show, whatever, would rather keep Madeline the main host than this like weirdo rando co-host. Does that make sense? And so she's afraid that her time is about to be up. But she is desperate to keep her job. She was even told, like, she's not just like imagining this. Like the producer had pulled her aside and pretty much told her like, hey, you and Madeline need to become friends. Like you guys need to work through whatever weird tension is happening between you two, because we can sense it. The listeners can sense it. Like y'all need to work that shit out or you're not going to have a job. So Amber, in response to this, rather than trying to befriend Madeline, rather than trying to, I don't know, work through issues like a normal human being, is going to dinner to talk to her friend Joe to conspire, to figure out how to make Madeline quit the radio show. And I know I'm saying a lot of names, and it's probably confusing. Again, this is why everybody says, thank you, Gwen, because we're going to have a name list up here on the screen for you. If you're watching visually, we're going to have a name thing. If you are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I will have the names listed in the description box so you guys can also keep up and like reference it to see what's going on and who we're talking about. And yeah, it's just like messy. So this chapter ends with Joe and Amber having their conversation at dinner about Project Madeline and how they're going to like destroy her reputation and get her to quit her job at the talk show, radio show thing. And then we cut to our first chapter from the before perspective from 1991, where presumably, the POV of this chapter is from Amber, right? She's been our main character. We've gotten her POV throughout this book so far. I would assume, as would anybody, that this is from Amber's perspective. And that's as far as I know, currently at 60% of the way through the book. So in the before times, which I love referring to it as such, she is 10 years old. She's going to a new school, and she is keeping a diary. Her and her schoolmates have just finished the unit on Anne Frank, and so they've all started to keep their own diaries about their lives, I guess. And so she ends up talking about how often her parents fight and how like heated these arguments get, and it's just not very good. Like her family has moved around a whole bunch, and then currently they're living at their grandmother's house. The grandmother had passed away recently from cancer, and so they moved into it. And it's all just like kind of weird. And in this chapter, we are introduced to her best friend named Taylor. she's very, very jealous of Taylor, right? Taylor comes from like a very good home life, and her parents love her, and she has money, and they're all comfortable, and like blah blah blah, and she thinks that Taylor's gonna bully her, but they just become best friends instead. Luckily, we get a random flashback. I wish I could tell you chapter numbers, but it's really not well defined or like numbered or anything, because like literally all of them are just like before, then, now, and that's the extent of them. So I'm on page 61, and the previous chapter at like 22% mark has just wrapped up, where on December 20th she had gone home and tried to cook dinner for her husband, trying to surprise him and be like cutesy whatever. But he was in his shed writing, because he's a writer. Again, Alice Feeney, bingo, check, check, check. He was writing all night, and then she got impatient, so she goes out there to find him because the light was on in his writer's shed thing in the backyard. He's not there. She calls him. No answer. She goes into the house. She calls him. She hears his phone. She goes digging around. His phone is in one of his like coat pockets in the bedroom closet. She grabs it and she's like, okay, well, this is really weird. And his car is gone, but his phone is here. And she's like looking through his closet, and there's a box of like lingerie that's not in her size. And so she, already being suspicious of her husband and sister having an affair, goes over to her sister's house. Her sister lives like a block around the corner. Goes over there and says, hey, bang, 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 where's my husband? Like knocking on the door like crazy. The sister's husband answers the door. He says, thanks for waking up the children. What the frick do you want? She says, well, where's my sister? He says, I thought she was with you. So the husband and the sister are missing. Noted. Okay. It's all just like so messy. It's so messy and gross. Okay. And then we cut to the before time. We're back in 1991. A whole month has passed of homegirl being at the new school. She and Taylor have become like very fast best friends. And in this particular chapter, they're having their first sleepover, and she's going over to Taylor's house, and everything is just so magical and cool and great. You know, she's feeling very, very welcomed into Taylor's family. You know, Taylor's mom is so sweet and engaged, and her parents don't fight, and her parents don't drink, and Taylor is like everything about her is just so much more like welcoming and like, you know what I mean? Like, come join us, be with us. And it's a feeling that she's never had before. And it's like just a very big, big deal to her. And she becomes obsessed with Taylor and Taylor's family and her living situation and all of these things. And she begins like idolizing her and her parents in a really, really weird way that we will continue to unpack throughout these like flashbacks. Back to like current day, Amber has been hospitalized for 2 entire days. She's been like in her coma, whatever. On this particular day, her parents come and give her a visit. She is very happy to hear from them, very happy that they are visiting her, because there has been it's been difficult between them, right? Their relationship has been rocky for quite a while, but their presence is very, very comforting to her, and she just continues to like worry about how she will never wake up from this. There's a lot of like detailed discussion about the zoning like in and out and falling into the like darkness that would be dying and like accepting death like in this comatose state, which I found really interesting and also like really claustrophobic in a sense, you know. After her parents leave, she continues to have like pretty much when anyone is visiting and they're talking to her, she's like feeling engaged in like in the current day. And the second that people go quiet or she's left alone, she like falls into this like deep, deep darkness where she like totally zones out and she loses grip of reality and starts imagining this car accident situation, and she starts having these like images of this little girl in this pink dress singing these really creepy lullabies and these songs to her and stuff. And so after her parents leave, she's having one of these moments where she's like spiraling. And then all of a sudden she hears a man's voice whisper to her in her ear about how you did this to yourself. Okay. All right. This one's already scarier than rock, paper, scissors. This was like a very unsettling read. Very, very unsettling. And so eventually she ends up having this like this sparks, this recollection of hers, right? This whole you did this to yourself, where she's thinking back to a conversation that she and her mother had back when her and her husband were trying to have a baby at first. And her mom was like, I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not reading a bunch of quotes to you because like Alice Feeney's writing's not that great. Like it's nothing to like write home about for the most part. Me summarizing is doing enough, right? Like you don't need to hear it all. Anyway, Amber and her mom have this conversation about kids. And her mom says, well, honey, you probably aren't having kids because you don't deserve them. You're too selfish to have kids, right? Like you and your husband, you just want to do whatever you want to do. And, you have to put children first. And you've always put yourself first. Like you're too selfish to have children. That's why God took your ability to have kids away. Huh. Oh, okay. Yeah. And the mom's like, yeah, honey, you and I, we're a lot alike that way. Mom, what do you mean? Like you had kids, Mom. What do you mean? Like you thought that and then you had me and you realized you were wrong? The mom's like, no, I never wanted kids. I never wanted you. I didn't want to have kids. I despised you. Okay. Cool. So this just like validates everything that Amber has like ever felt about feeling like her parents didn't like her and feeling like she's come, second fiddle, second string, second whatever, come second to her sister Claire. Because her mom goes on to say like, yeah, Claire was a gift. Okay. Awesome. And so with this recollection and these thoughts and everything and this like darkness, this horrible vibe, she goes back into the darkness and she accepts her fate and dying and whatever, which like, honestly, I would probably do the same. And she comes back to when, speak of the devil, her sister Claire enters the room. And Claire says, hey, seriously, Amber, like you have to wake up right now. Like they've arrested Paul and his fingerprints are the only ones at the scene of the crime, which is like the wreck, which it's his car. So of course his fingerprints are at the crime scene. And they're like, we don't know what made the prints around your neck. They're assuming it was him. They've arrested him. Like if you're awake in there, if you have any chance, like Amber, you have to wake up. You have to come to right now. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to go to prison. And I know he didn't do this to you. And so, like, you have to come out. You have to save him. Okay? It's just messy. Again, this whole book is messy. And I don't know what's about to happen. So, the next morning, Amber is accepting the routine in her life of being in a coma, right? She's, like, nicknamed the nurses that come and take care of her. She knows that they like rotate her every like 600 seconds or something. I think she was like counting. Well, 6,000 seconds, maybe 600 seconds wouldn't be very long, right? That'd be like 10 minutes. 6,000, and then she loses count. There's like a whole thing. There's like a whole account of her just being aware of her surroundings and accepting her fate. And so the following morning, she has another dream about this little girl in this like pink dress. If, again, rock, paper, scissors, it was a woman in a red kimono. Now we have a little girl in a pink dress. I don't know. Do with all of that information what you will. And they're both standing in the rain and they're both singing. The little girl is continuing to sing this like really, really creepy nursery rhyme. And Amber admits to us that her parents didn't really visit her, that was like a hallucination, because her parents both died when they were in Italy. They were on like a vacation thing and they died. And even before that, they were estranged, and her parents hadn't talked for a really long time because like her and her dad got in some crazy fight where he pretty much said, I don't know if I have it highlighted. It was like pretty much like everything that you do, you've brought on yourself. Any distance and everything that we have between us, like you did this to yourself. And like, I don't feel bad for you. And it's like up to you to like repair our relationship, which is a really weirdly gross thing to come from a parent, in my opinion. The other thing that we learned from this like little creepy girl's nursery rhyme is she sings, twinkle, twinkle, little star, if you're down there, who's in the car? And she has this like memory of her being in the ditch after the car accident and seeing a shadowy figure exit the vehicle. So again, just like more confirmation or whatever that Amber was not the reason for this car accident that she was a part of, even though that's what the police had said. As she's realizing this, she like zones back out, and then she zones back in to like current day, what's happening around her. And the weird man has returned, this like weird man voice that she does not recognize. Can you hear me? It's a man. I don't recognize his voice. It's almost like that's what I just said to you. Fear floods through me as he walks toward the bed. I said, can you hear me? He repeats. He's right next to me when he asks the same question a third time. He sighs, takes a step back. He opens something next to my bed, and then I hear the sound of a phone being turned on. My phone. I hear the security code that I never change. Whoever this person is, he's listening to my voicemail. There are 3 messages, faint but audible. The first voice I hear is Claire's. She says she is just calling to see if everything is okay. Her tone suggests that she already knew that it wasn't. It's followed by an angry message from Paul. He wants to know where I am. Then the stranger in my room plays the third message, and it's his own voice on my phone. I'm sorry about what happened. It's only because I love you. It feels like my whole body ices over. I hear a beep. Message. Deleted. You have no new messages. I don't know this man, but he knows me. I'm so frightened that even if I were able to scream, I don't think I could. I do hope you're not lying there feeling sorry for yourself, Amber, he says. Touches my face, and I want to shrink back down into the pillow. He taps me on the head repeatedly with his finger. In case you're confused in there by anything you've heard, this wasn't an accident. His finger slides down the side of my face and rests on my lips. You did this to yourself. Cool. He then goes on to, like, do some inappropriate things to her body as he leaves the room, talking about how he knows how to keep her in a coma. And we begin down that, like, path that this is a doctor or some type of, like, medical professional in the facility that, like, knows she is here and is, like, willingly and purposefully keeping her in a comatose state. This is not a result of the car accident, or maybe it was at first, but whoever this is like keeping her in this state for a reason. Back to the current / past day, right? Like the whole week ago thing, like after Christmas. So her husband is still gone, right? He's been gone the entire night. After the whole, like, she went to Claire's house. He wasn't there. He wasn't anywhere. She's still not able to contact him or anything. She comes home, still no sign of him, and everything is just, like, terrible and awkward, and she has, like, come to the conclusion and the acceptance that, like, her husband is cheating on her. In the middle of the night, she goes to his shed. She puts on some gloves, and she writes a note. And she puts it into a red envelope. And this will become a recurring thing. This is the first time that we're, like, teased the idea of it. But she is writing, I guess, not stalker. I don't know what you would call it. She's writing, like, really negative letters to Madeline. Part of the whole Project Madeline and part of, like, getting her to quit her job at the news station is to scare her. And so Amber begins writing these, like, really, really creepy letters, like creepy fan mail to Madeline, starting these rumors and, like, stalkery vibes to, like, freak her out enough to get her to leave. And she's using her husband's, like, stationery to do so. So I think we're, like, setting up to frame the husband for something, but maybe the husband is at fault, but maybe he's at fault for something else and not this, like, particular crime that she's trying to set him up for. I don't know. But that's where we're at, okay? That's what's like going on. Blackmail. Blackmail was the word that I was thinking of earlier, not stalker letters. Yes. So Amber is using her husband's stationery to continually write blackmail letters to her co-host to get her to quit. Okay? Really weird, really effed up. Like I said, super, super messy. When we get a flashback back to this like pre-Christmas, pre-comatose week leading up to this event, she goes into the office one day and Madeline pulls her aside and she says, "Hey, have you seen any weird people around the office? Like I'm getting..." She doesn't tell her the extent of what's going on, but she's like, "There's some weird stuff going on. And like, can you just keep an eye out for any creepy or like weird people who shouldn't be here? Because like, I need to keep an eye out if you can help me out here." Which is really weird because they're not close like that, right? And so this is very indicative of how desperate Madeline has become with these like weird messages that she's getting. We also learn that Amber's husband eventually returns from his like weird outing missing situation that he was on. He's just at home the next day. And Amber's like, "Hey, WTF, where did you go? You've been gone for like, 24 hours, 48 hours with like nothing. Like, what is going on?" He's like, "I called you. I left a message. I left a note on the counter. Like, I left all these things. How did you not know where I was? Like, you're acting like a psychopath," because she goes on to, accuse him of cheating on her and all of these other, things. And in her head, she's like, "He's gaslighting me. I know that this sticky note wasn't here yesterday. I cooked in the kitchen. There's no way he left me this note. There's no way he called me. I was in the kitchen the whole time. I would have seen the flashing on the answering machine. There's no way he did any of this, da-da-da-da-da. He's, again, gaslighting me." And just a lot of stuff just starting to not add up and a lot of really, really weird situations going on. But he was saying that like he had received a text message from his mother about how she had fallen down and needed help or something, and she was going to the hospital, and so he needed to get over there like as soon as possible to go and help her out. And so that's why he had like forgotten his phone, because he was just in such a rush to help his mom. And then she's like, "Okay, so if you went to your mom's house, why was your truck at my sister's house?" He's like, "Well, my registration is expired, and so I borrowed the brother-in-law's truck, and he said he was going to fix it for me." Okay, I guess. It's all just kind of weird, right? Like, there's just like some weird stories going on. That's really like all that we need to pull from this situation. Just like more and more weird stuff going on. So she goes to work, though, trying to act normal, trying to act like everything is okay. And on this particular day, Madeline is, in general, she's already like on edge, feeling like she's being stalked and blackmailed and blah, blah, blah. But also she's on edge today because Amber had, I guess laced would be the word, had put a bunch of laxatives in Madeline's coffee. So she's very uncomfortable, not feeling very good as they go through the broadcast. And at the end of the broadcast, she's like unable to drive because her stomach hurts so bad. And so Amber pretty much gets like voluntold to drive her home. So she does. And we get this like really weird little sentence at the end of the chapter talking about how she pulls up to Amber's house, and it's really, really weird because she recognizes the house. What do you mean you recognize the house? And so then this was like the first part where I was like, okay, is Madeline Taylor? Because is Madeline Taylor? Because they were best friends. And did they have a falling out? And so she's like stalked her and followed her and like whatever. But like surely Madeline would recognize Taylor, right? Like surely it wouldn't be that easy. So I'm like, who the fuck is Madeline? I don't know. I still don't know at this current point in time. Later that night, Amber decides to... You know how earlier I mentioned she ran into her like ex-boyfriend Edward at the bar when she was meeting up with her friend Joe? Well, they had exchanged emails or something. I cannot remember. I like flew through this particular part of the book. However, whatever, I don't care. They exchanged contact information in some capacity. They've been talking. She's kind of been blowing it off. But this all culminates into her deciding to meet her ex-boyfriend at a bar to talk, to catch up, to whatever. Keep in mind, she's married. Keep in mind, he, I believe, has a partner of some capacity. And they decide, old time's sake, it's been a long time, like, let's just, no harm, no foul, let's hang out. And she, kind of feeling bad about herself, feeling bad about her marriage, feeling stressed out with everything going on, decides to do it. She meets him. He is, again, more handsome than ever. And he tells her that he, works at the hospital, down the road from her house. And she's like, yeah, that was something I always admired about him. He always wanted to be a doctor and he always wanted to help people. And, I'm just like, I've always been so impressed by him and I feel so inadequate in comparison. I'm just doing this like silly radio show stuff. And he's over here doing like serious work for people. And, them getting drinks at the bar turns into them getting dinner and him getting her into this like exclusive restaurant that it's like members only or something. And they enter into there. They're eating and she tries to end the night and like go home. And he grabs her arm kind of hard, kind of weird, very awkwardly bad. And she gets these like flashbacks to like why we broke up, which is just indicative of him being a control freak, really bad guy, bad vibes, right? But she like shakes him off and gets away. We get another like diary entry from 1991 and she is talking about how her and her friendship with Taylor has like gradually evolved. She's continued to protect Taylor from being bullied and Taylor's come and slept over at her house and hasn't been judgmental and kept an open mind, and they've continued to support each other. And it's just this like, they're two peas in a pod. They have the same birthday, they were born even in the same hospital, just a couple hours apart, and how, meaningful this relationship is. And again, it's like evolving into this like very, very creepy obsession with Taylor. So we've got that going for us. Back in current day, it is December 20th. So she has been in the coma for 4 days and she is like obviously in the coma when she gets visited by her husband and her sister. They have a little bit more of like banter back and forth, but this time they're like kind of seeming like they're a little bit closer. The last couple times that they've been in the hospital room together, there's been like some tension between them and they've sat on opposite sides of the room and they've like openly bickered. But this time around, they sit on the same side of the bed and they seem a lot more friendly. And there's a lot more words between them that Amber can tell aren't said. Like they're aware of what's going on, right? And obviously the husband's out of like jail now. Like they couldn't get anything to like definitively say that he was at fault for anything, right? So they're here, both of them in this room. And Amber has this like flashback again about this little girl or like hallucination, whatever you want to call it. And the little girl beckons and convinces her to like move her hand. And so she does. She like twitches her finger and Claire sees it. And she's like, oh my God, Amber moved her body. She's awake. She's here. And so they have this like whole freak out of what's going on. But she's unable to move again. And so there's a bunch of time that passes. And long story short, Amber is pretty much, they're going to take her off of the ventilator and they're going to pull the plug, essentially, by the time that New Year's comes around. So it's December 30th. You're going to give her 2 more days? You're like a week, pretty much is what they're saying. We're going to give her a week on a ventilator, a week in a coma, and then we're going to pull the plug because this isn't what she would want. Yeah, she might have moved her finger, but she hasn't done it again since. And the doctors say that that's something that just like patients do sometimes. Like that doesn't mean that she's here or aware of anything that's going on. So we're just going to end support if that's the case. And they leave the room after deciding this. And of course, shortly thereafter, the creepy guy that she keeps hearing the voice of, he returns to the room, talks to her about drugging her and about how he has been purposefully drugging her to keep her in this comatose state and how the first dose that he gave her should have killed her, but apparently she's a fighter and how he won't make that mistake again. And then she feels some weird sensations of her like moving through the hallway or her like moving through like the hospital on her bed and stuff, and goes back under like the darkness. Like she feels like a fluttering under her skin, like he's administering more drugs, and she gets all like loopy and weird. The only other thing to note is that while Paul and Claire are there, they're like, okay, well, maybe, hearing more voices will help. Like, let's invite some of her friends. Like maybe they can talk her out of what's going on. And so they try to think of any friends that she has. And I mean, maybe Joe from work. Paul has no idea who Joe is. And so he's going to go and look through her phone and try to find his contact information for this Joe person. But he can't get into her phone because it's dead. And Amber, hearing that her husband is about to go through her phone, freaks out and has this like rush of adrenaline and really bad feelings about like, I don't know what I did, but there's something on there that like I know if a husband finds, he would be mad. Assumably, this stuff with this like Edward ex-boyfriend guy, right? So cut to the past narrative. So it's December 24th, right? 2 days before the accident, 2 days before the coma, blah, blah, blah. Leading up to this, she goes into work and she's feeling nauseous. She's feeling a little queasy. She thinks that she might be pregnant. Of note, there was a conversation between Claire and Paul talking about how they lost the baby in the car accident. Again, assumably, in the car accident, Amber was pregnant, had all this accident, lost the kid. And then she had this like really weird, crazy spiral about how she feels at fault for losing the baby. Whatever. Cut to current day, past day. I hate it here. I don't know what I'm saying. I hope you're able to understand. That's how she's feeling on December 30th, is she finds out she lost the baby and she's blaming herself. We go back to December 24th, before everything happens, and she is going to work, feeling queasy, thinking that she might be pregnant. Okay. She gets pulled aside by Madeline, who is growing increasingly concerned about all of these anonymous letters that she is receiving and how they are like threatening to reveal her secret. Whatever her secrets may be, it's not explained what it is. She doesn't open up to Amber about what it is or anything like that. Just her secret might get revealed, and it's just very, very bad vibes. And long story short, what happens next is Amber lying and sabotaging Madeline. There is a television, I think it's called a fluff piece, is what they refer to it as, where Madeline is going to go out on the street basically and do like an interview commentary thing about this like charity work that they're doing. Amber sabotages her, saying like, hey, you're off air, you know, blah, blah, blah. Madeline, thinking she is off air, goes on to speak very disparagingly about the charity organization, says some really crazy shit about people having children and people should have an IQ test before they procreate, and how charity organizations like this wouldn't exist if people were responsible. Like really disgusting, vile stuff, right? Goes on this like entire tirade. She is live on television saying all of these things unknowingly. So they go back to the news station. Amber plays dumb and takes the stairs while Madeline takes the elevator up top. When Amber gets up there, she says it's like walking in midway through the season of your favorite drama TV show where Madeline is getting her ass chewed by the boss in one of the offices and everybody can overhear what's happening, of her just getting like yelled at like crazy for saying this crazy stuff on air, and she's going to get fired, right? Project Madeline was getting her to quit the show and or be fired. And so that's exactly what happens. And now this will lead to Amber now being the host of this morning show and not having to worry about being fired because she got the other girl fired first. It's a dog-eat-dog world. When all of the people from work, they go to their Christmas party that night. They go to like this little diner to go and eat and stuff. The producer shows up like 30 minutes late after everybody, and he announces Madeline's leaving. And he's like, don't worry, it has nothing to do with what happened today. It's just a coincidence, but she's leaving of her own accord because for personal reasons. And Amber is sitting there and she's thinking like, nobody knows what those personal reasons are, but I do. I know why she's really leaving. And they go on having dinner. And Amber looks up out of one of the windows and she sees Edward, the weird guy, the weird ex-boyfriend guy that she decided to hit up and go on a date with the other day. Turns out he's like basically stalking her and is outside of the window at this diner. And so she goes outside and she's like, hey, WTF? And he's like, hey, I'm sorry. You said the other day that you were coming here for your dinner outing with your work people. And I was walking by and I happened to see you and I wanted to say hi. She's like, I don't really believe that. And he's like, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm lying. I know you would see through that. So yeah, we left on some really weird terms the other day at dinner, and I want to clear the air. I want to take you out again. She says, okay, yeah. So they go to dinner. After he was already weird and bad vibes to her, she decides, yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's go to dinner. Let me bail on this work function outing that I'm on to go out with my ex-boyfriend when I'm already afraid that my husband's having an affair with my sister. Let me just go and do this other thing and go and also be like a really terrible bad person. So she goes out with him. They go to dinner. They go do their thing. He walks her to the train station, and she tries to get on her train. And he says, you don't need to get on that. You can wait. There's another one later. She's like, no, really, I need to go. And he says, no, you're good. You can come back for another drink. So they go to this other bar, even though she doesn't want to, and she's feeling wildly uncomfortable. She goes. She orders lemonade. She goes to the restroom. And she comes back out, and she drinks the lemonade. She doesn't remember anything else that happens that night. The next thing she knows, she wakes up the following morning, and she's like naked in a hotel room that she doesn't recognize. Presumably, he has drugged her and not good stuff, right? And so she hears the shower running and decides to make a run for it before he finishes. She like looks around. There's photos of her everywhere. Yeah, then she comes across 2 cork boards that have a bunch of photos of them that he had in university. And it's covered in photos of the 2 of them back then, but then there's more recent photos that have been added to the collage now too, this time just of me. Me outside work, me reading a newspaper on the tube, me sipping coffee at a cafe down the road from my home less than a week ago. I recognized my new coat. There must have been over 100 photos of my face stares out from There must be over 100 photos, and my face stares out from everyone. I make myself look away. I have to get out now. And so she makes a run for it. And she goes home and whatever, makes a run for it. And the chapter ends, and we go back to the before times. We are now in December of 1992. In the 1992 timeline, we get more information about her birthday. It's her 11th birthday. She is not seeing Taylor on this particular day because there's like some weird kind of tension and drama between their families, aka, like we've established, her family is poor, her parents fight all the time. Taylor's family is very put together and nice and have a bunch of money. And so her mom is jealous of Taylor's mom. And there's this like weird rift between the 2 of them, and blah, 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 yada, yada. They're best friends at school, though, and they're 2 peas in a pod. And she just has this, like, growing hatred for her home life the more and more that she's around Taylor and these, like, happy people. On this day, she tells her mom she hates her. They get in a fight. She pushes her mom down the stairs. Her mother is, like, 6 weeks pregnant, I think, at this point. A little while pregnant at this point. Gets pushed down the stairs. Long story short, ends up losing the baby. This leads into like a series of drama with the mother and a hatred of the mother towards her because of this situation. And it's just like, again, very, very bad vibes. Her mother returns after being in the hospital for a long time. And she ends up telling her mom she hates her. She blames her mom for everything. You know, it's her mom's fault that she can't be at Taylor's house. It's her mom's fault that they have to move so much. Like, literally everything. Like, even really, like, minor weird stuff she ends up putting on her mom. And it's just this, like, weird festering hatred that's, like, not really, like, justified. Like, it's very, like, child logic, you know? On top of, like, this familial situation, she also ends up getting suspended from school because she will continually protect Taylor from being bullied. The girls at school, like, corner her in the bathroom stall and throw, like, paper towel wads at her, and so she comes to her defense. The girls try to set her hair on fire with a Bunsen burner in science class, and so she retaliates and breaks one of the girls' noses. And so her entire, like, school stuff is getting in trouble trying to protect and defend her best friend, Taylor. And the mom kind of, like, hates her for this. And she's like, you know, basically, like, I don't know why you're so concerned with this girl. You're not allowed to see her anymore. You're not allowed to, like, hang out with her, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is inappropriate. Like, you, like, knock it off. She's like, you know what I mean? Like, the bane of your existence almost. Like, she's, like, ruining your life. Like, you can't keep doing this. And just this, like, very odd tension between these 2 families. And the final thing gets revealed. The final thing for this particular chapter and why she hates her mom and the new thing that she blames her mom for is they're going to have to move again because I think I had mentioned it earlier, but they are living in her grandmother's house. So her grandmother died of cancer. Her mom was the caretaker. When the grandmother passed away, they just stayed in the home. Eventually, her aunt contested the will and said, you're not allowed to just, like, take over her house. I have a right to 50% of it. And so they have to leave while this like gets contested and they have to move out and blah, blah, blah. And so she blames her mother yet again, because she's like, if my mom would have taken care of my grandmother and didn't let her die to cancer, if my mom was as good of a mom as Taylor's, none of this would have happened and we could stay here. And now I have to move because my mom sucks. I hate her so much. Like blah, 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 blah. Festering hatred, right? Very like messed up childhood nonsense going on. We cut back to current day and she is being visited by her friend Jo from work, right? The girl she got like dinner with very early in the book, right? That led to her running into Edward, blah, blah, blah. Jo visits her at the hospital. She opens her eyes. She sees Jo there and they talk. And Jo was like, hey, if you wanted to quit the job, you could have just said, you didn't have to get in a car accident and come up with all these excuses, hee, ha, ha. Like, you could have just said something. Banter, banter, banter. I don't know why you left anyway. And she goes on to reveal, Amber does. Amber says, I only ever took that job so that I could get back at Madeline. Oh. Okay. And then the conversation ends. The husband and Claire are in the room, right? The husband, the sister, they're sitting over Amber's body and it's late at night. They can't sleep. They both have insomnia and they've become like buddy-buddy. They're talking a lot more and Amber internally is thinking, I preferred it when they had the rule where he arrived and she left. They're spending too much time together now and nothing good can come of that. I charged Amber's phone, but there was no contact number for anyone called Jo. That's strange. Yeah, I called her boss thinking he'd be able to give me her number. He was very nice at first, but then he got all agitated and said that he couldn't give it to me because he doesn't know anyone called Jo. I don't understand, says Claire. I know that she does. Amber is thinking, right? It's like italicized. Nobody at coffee morning is called Jo. I asked him if maybe it was a nickname or something. I told him that she was definitely a friend of Amber's from work. Then he got all flustered and tried to find a polite way to tell me that Amber didn't have any friends at work. Please stop, Amber is thinking. How strange. I'm starting to understand why she quit. The guy sounded like a real arse. Please stop talking, she's thinking. She quit? Asked Claire. Don't say any more, she's thinking. Sorry, she told me not to tell you. I forgot. Why? She just wasn't happy there anymore. No, I mean, why didn't she want you to tell me? I don't know. That's why I feel the whole book. So, you're asking, hey, what the fuck? Why didn't Amber, want Claire to know about starting work here? So, I think I'm piecing it all together. Like the Jimmy Neutron brain blast? Are you a millennial like me? Am I I just turned 30. Am I a millennial? I am, but like barely. A zillennial? Is that what we're called? Anyway, I just got a Jimmy Neutron brain blast of realizing I think what is happening. Anyway, it doesn't matter because I'm probably wrong knowing how these authors work. But I feel like we're far enough invested that we can have like open and honest conversation, right? So I don't think Jo is real, obviously. I think she's an imaginary friend. And then this whole Taylor, Amber, Claire thing, one of them's not real, right? Like Alice Feeney, again, I'm basing this off of Rock, Paper, Scissors, where that narrative had a very similar like timeline thing. And it turned out that the past timeline was actually attributed to the other person, like the one that you wouldn't expect. And we've only been introduced to a very limited number of characters. And so I'm going to assume that this like past POV that we have from like 1991, 1992 is not Amber, but it's actually Claire or Taylor or something. Like it's somebody else, right? Like there's going to be some weirdness that happens where like shit's not adding up. And it's going to be kind of a not a red herring, but I think like Edward's a red herring, but maybe he's not. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Like I said, I have less than 100 pages left and it's like 30 chapters. Like these chapters are all about to go really, really quick. And so that's where I'm like, I can't do the chapter by chapter, beat by beat breakdown because I would literally be losing my mind doing like all the different differentiation between each of them. But we go into the then, right? So they end this thing of like, what do you mean? Why didn't she want you to tell me? No, I don't know. We go back to December 23rd. I thought we were like way past that. Are we? You can't do this to me. We can't say then, the then time being like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. You know what? I don't even give a fuck anymore at this point. I'm so done with this story. Whoever this is, because it doesn't say, I'm assuming Amber, but I doubt it at this point. December 23rd, she wakes up from Edward's house, right? She made the run for it because he was in the shower, had all these creepy photos of her and whatnot. Goes home. She gets a taxi. She goes home. She runs into her husband. Doesn't want to say anything to him or talk about anything that just happened. Long story short, she like semi kind of confronts him and talks shit about him being gone for so long and all of this other stuff. And he's like, I'm not cheating on you. You're so crazy. I'm actually writing a book. And I know I've been distant for so long, but it's because I've been writing a book and I got picked up by a publisher and I'm going to have to go to America for a couple of months to do this. So I didn't want to tell you until I was for sure. And blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh my God, that's so crazy. I just quit my job so I can come with you. Oh. And he's also like, yeah, I know it looks suspicious about my whole mom thing, but it was real, and gives a bunch of these other like reasons and logic leading us to doubt her as a narrator or to believe that she is an unreliable narrator. And then we cut back to 1992. It is December 18th, and this is post the whole them having to sell their house, right? Like the aunt contesting the will and like wanting the house. And so all these people are coming over and getting tours of it, and they're trying to like auction it off or sell it off or whatever. And all these people are going through it and talking about how disgusting this house is, right? Nobody in their right mind would want to live here. It needs knocking down. It's such an ugly little house. And so she is hearing all of this as an 11-year-old girl. And she's really offended and upset by all of these things. And so these people are like touring the house, and she begins screaming. She starts screaming at the top of her lungs and says, "Get out of my house, you effing B word." And so all of the adults in the room look terrified and they leave. And eventually, you know, her parents come home and they sit her down, and the mom looks really concerned for her. And this has kind of been like a recurring thing, right? Like, I'm not saying her parents are good parents, but I'm saying that there has been multiple times where the mom has said, hey, is it happening again? Hey, are you okay? Hey, is like, you're not allowed to hang out with, you know, Taylor's family anymore because there's obviously some negative impact happening here. This is one of those instances. Like, I'm worried about you, you know? I'm not saying that it's good. I'm not saying it's a good mom. It might be a little misplaced, but there's definitely some like underlying currents, feelings that there's something deeper to this daughter. And like, again, we're back to this whole unreliable narrator shit where I don't know what's going on. I just know that the mom is very, very concerned about her daughter yelling curse words at these people, and her mom and her actively ignoring her mother and thinking like really, really negative thoughts about it all, about how she wants to die and wants them to die and yada, yada. Back to the then timeline. It's Christmas Eve, 2016, morning. She goes shopping, Amber and Claire. They go shopping at the mall to buy some Christmas gifts. And she is buying Claire's kids. Claire has a pair of twins or set of twins, buys them some clothing, and is thinking, I looked it up the other day, the term godmother, a female arranged to be the legal guardian of a child if untimely demise is met by the parents. Untimely demise. I can't get that phrase out of my head. Being their aunt and a godmother hasn't really meant an awful lot yet, but it will. I plan on doing a lot more for them when they're older. They won't remember what happens this Christmas. It won't count. The number of last-minute shoppers bustling, hurrying along. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Claire is like, hey, I remember the other day you mentioned that you had ran into your ex, you know, like casually, they were just talking or whatever. I was thinking about it, and yeah, I remember him, right? Like he was going to medical school or something. Amber trying to be like, oh yeah, totally. Yes, he was. He wouldn't leave you alone when you split up with him. Do you remember? Claire asks. Yeah, I remember. He was upset. He didn't understand why I broke it off. I couldn't explain to him that you made me. I didn't make you. He just wasn't right for you. He was pleasant to look at, but something wasn't quite right up there. She taps her temple with her index finger. You remember him calling you nonstop when you ended it, waiting outside your flat in the middle of the night? Yeah, like I said, he was upset. Do you ever wonder why he stopped harassing you in the end? She turns to face me, her eyes shining with delight, before returning her attention to the items on sale. My mind whirs into overdrive. The pieces of a puzzle I didn't know I needed to solve start to slot into place. What did you do? I ask. Not much. I wrote some letters, that's all. It's a shame that people don't write to one another anymore, don't you think? She doesn't look up, just casually makes her way along the stall, picking up pastel-shaped lumps of wax, lifting them to her face and breathing them in. Tell me what you did. Finally, she turns to face me. I wrote some letters to the head of the medical school from women who wanted to complain about his conduct. Your ex? I wrote them all on different paper using different handwriting. It was really very clever. She smiles. Then I rang him from a payphone and said the letters would only stop if he left you alone. Her smile erupts into laughter. That isn't funny, Claire. You could have ruined his career. What does he do now? He's a doctor. No harm done then. Getting herself all worked up over nothing as usual. I'm only telling you in case you happen to bump into him again. I wouldn't advise it. Why? I ask, fearing I already know the answer. Because I think I might have said the letters were from you. What the fuck? I'm literally about to start crying. Okay. Not that I'm confused, and I hope that you're not either. This is me. If you're not watching, I'm clapping my hands across the bottom of the screen. I'm trying to sort out all of the plot points and the silos of information that we're supposed to be receiving and sorting and then merging together, you know? So we have Amber, who is decidedly her own brand of crazy and intimidated by a coworker named Madeline and is writing letters to blackmail her to get her to quit. Claire, Amber's sister, wrote letters to a boyfriend named Edward to get her to leave her alone for some reason, because he was creepy and weird. Amber has since, unknowingly, continued to go on dates with this creepy guy who might have a hatred for her because of these letters that her sister Claire wrote, trying to ruin his career of being a doctor. Assumably, he's a doctor now, maybe not. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. Maybe he's just works in the hospital in some capacity. I don't fucking know. There's some weird tension there. So writing letters is a weird through line here. I'm just I'm holding my boob. Do you ever do that where you just hold your boob for comfort? So, they both write letters. They both hate people. They try to get people fired. I'm only 64% of the way through the book. Gwen, are you okay? I'm just, to put it shortly, I guess I've read one more chapter. So what it appears to be is that the sister Claire has forced Amber into getting this job and getting rid of Madeline, the douchebag host lady. Amber has been forced to get rid of her. She comes back and she reports to Claire and she's like, I did it. I took care of her. Now leave my husband Paul alone. I really hope my Spotify and Apple podcast listeners, I hope that you're watching visually. What do you mean? Yeah, so I guess Claire is the mastermind behind this, and she has bullied her older sister Amber into getting rid of Madeline, and she reported that she did. And then Claire was like, hey, you look like you're sad. Is it Paul's fault? Is it your husband's fault? Is that why you're sad? Because I'll kill him. And she's like, no, that's not why. Because keep in mind, Amber is coming to this conversation the day after she just had spent the night with her ex-boyfriend and had gotten drugged by him and woke up in a hotel with him naked, right? She was assaulted. I'm not trying to, like, be coy about it, right? She got assaulted by her ex-boyfriend, but you know what I mean? Like, full context of what's going on here. So that's why she's not, like, revealing this information to her sister, because she feels guilty about it, blah, blah, blah. And so Claire is like, yeah, is that why you're sad? Are you sad because of your husband? And she can't be honest because she feels ashamed of everything that she's done and everything that has happened to her and blah, 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 complicated human stuff, right? I'm not phrasing it properly. I hope you're not mad at me. You understand what I'm trying to say. Really icky, weird conversations happening and vague threats and what not. And then we cut back to the before times, December 19th, 1992. I need to call it a night. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'll see y'all later. I gotta take a nap. Not even a nap, it's 8:46. I gotta take a sleep. I'll come back to y'all tomorrow with more information. This is so messy. I knew it would be messy, but like, fuck, dude. Hello, friends. It's the next day. We're fully horizontal, and we will be for the rest of this video. It's one of those days. I feel like you can always tell what days I film on, because I really only film in the studio on the weekends when I'm like full of zest for life. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say. And then if it's a Sunday, that's when I wear my baseball hats. Because that's like a hair wash day and my hair is like really oily and gross. And so Sundays I wear my hats. The weekends I'm in the studio. The weekdays you can tell because I'm usually dressed for work, or I'm just fully horizontal because that's where we are. That's where we are in life. Somebody on my last horizontal video, they said, that sounds like sexual, but you know what I'm trying to say here. The last time I filmed at this angle, somebody had commented about like, the horrors persist, but so do we. Even if we do tasks that are normally done vertically are done horizontally or something. And it was like, I screenshotted it. Like, have it in a little special folder on my phone because it was so funny and so true. So anyway, I read a little bit more of this book. I'm pissed off. I'm so just like genuinely done and pissed off at this book that like I don't even want to finish it. But it's the sunk cost fallacy, right? Like I've already put so much time into this and into this video that I'm like, I gotta finish it now, even though I'm mad as hell. I'm so mad it's making my accent come out. it's making my accent come out, and it's made me horizontal. I'm just like wasting time now because I don't even want to talk about it. But where we left off last night was them being at this whole Christmas shopping and revealing that Claire somehow knows Madeline, right? And has like pretty much like conned Amber into taking care of Madeline in whatever capacity thing. Like what is even going on? We don't really know. So we get a flashback scene immediately after that, back to December of 1992. And this is going to be the last time that the girls are going to be hanging out before she moves away, right? So she hits up Taylor and she's like, hey, like meet me at the park. And they do, and they talk. And it's kind of this emotional goodbye, kind of emotional distancing between the girls. I don't know. It's sweet. I don't really give a shit. What matters is later when we had stopped spinning, like on the playground little spinny thing, but we're still lying there, Taylor told me this funny story about her friend Jo. She said Jo was really good at going to new places and meeting new people, that she was brilliant at listening and keeping secrets. I started to feel a bit jealous of Jo. I think that as Taylor and I are the best of friends, she shouldn't really need anyone else. I didn't like the sound of Joe much at all, actually, until Taylor told me that she wasn't real. She was an imaginary friend. I laughed so much then, but Taylor didn't laugh. She was serious. She said I could borrow Joe when I moved if I wanted, that Joe would keep me company when I was scared or lonely, and that I'd always have a friend wherever I went. I told her I didn't need any other friends so long as I had her, but it was like she didn't hear me. She said Joe could come home with me for the night just to see if we could be friends too. I said no thanks. Taylor got all weird then and said that Joe was sitting on one of the empty swings and not to hurt her feelings. I looked over at the swings. There was nobody there. I started to think Taylor was a nut job, but when it was time to go home, I agreed that Joe could come with me just to keep Taylor happy. Joe is here in my room now, watching me write my diary. She's got blonde hair and blue jeans, and we like all the same stuff. She keeps whispering things in my ear. I don't know whether we're going to be friends or not yet, but she can hang around for now. So what? Okay. So Joe is imaginary. I predicted this. I predicted the fact that the first talk show topic was imaginary friends, that like somebody had to be imaginary in this story, right? It makes sense that it would be Joe, especially since she didn't work at the TV show thing, right? When Paul had called trying to figure out her contact info and the woman didn't exist. Okay, so I guess that's really not too much of like a surprise or anything. And so we cut back to the literal current day, New Year's Eve, 2016. So this is like pretty much one of the last final days before they're going to like pull the plug on Amber, right? Paul leaves my room and I wait for Claire to say something. Even if she doesn't believe I can hear her, I know she won't be able to resist. 35 years old and you're still making up stories about your imaginary friend? Seriously? Her laugh is unkind. I suppose the real question is, who have you really been with when you've been telling Paul you're with Joe? The door opens and I'm so grateful for the interruption. Except they're interrupted by Edward. Uh-oh. Then she begins to have like a weird flashback thing. It's a memory of her and Paul fighting in a driveway and it's pouring rain. And it's just more and more is coming back to her about the day that she was in this like car accident thing. And she starts to cry. And then like in her memory flashback weird thing, she starts like sobbing in the rain. And then the little girl that she's like referenced a couple of times, have I said that? The little creepy girl that she imagined during the car accident keeps showing up randomly and like told her to point at the sign, right? And that's how she like moved her hand before. The little creepy girl returns and then she like holds hands with her and stuff and tries comforting her, and then they both start crying. The little girl starts crying too, and I pull her close to me, knowing that I must never let her go. She couldn't have stopped it from happening. It wasn't her fault. The picture darkens, stripping away the memory until all that remains is black. It is only then that everything becomes clear. She chose silence, and now I must endure it. The little girl holds me tight. Over 2 decades fall away, and I look down at the girl I used to be. She's traveled a quarter of a century through time and space to remind me who I was then and tell me who I must be now. Some people are ghosts before they are dead. Okay. Got it. Got it. Then, now, still Christmas Eve, it's the afternoon. She returns home after this shopping trip. She hears like weird noises upstairs and she thinks that it's Paul, and she's like walking around and the oven is left on and she's like tries to yell at him about it, and a bunch of stuff is out of place. Again, in passing, it's been mentioned about like her OCD and stuff, and so she's like walking through the house and stuff is not how it is supposed to be, and it's in such a way that Paul knows better and he would never do this to her. And so it must be him doing it intentionally, or Claire is pissed off at her, came to her house and is like sabotaging the setup of the house to like mess with her or something. And so she goes like searching around everywhere trying to find her husband. Nah, she can't find him anywhere. More and more just like weird stuff happening. And then she walks back downstairs thinking she hears him like walking around down there. And when she goes downstairs and she goes into her living room, there is a man on her couch, but it's not her man. It's Edward, the creepy ex-boyfriend guy, has broken into her home. Assumably he's the one that's like messed with all of this stuff. And then now he is just sitting in the middle of her living room and is like confronting her. And let me find something to read to you, maybe. I don't know. It's just really creepy, scary shenanigans, you know? Nope, that's just where the chapter ends. Okay, she just sees Edward there, and he says, hello, you look tired, you should sit down. I love when we go jumbly. I love chapters that are only a page and a half long and don't answer any questions when we're jumping between, like, 4 separate fucking timelines. I love so much when authors do that. That's so much fun for me, personally. This is kind of interesting. We go back to the night that the little girl comes home with her imaginary friend, Joe, right? She took it home from Taylor, gave her Joe to bring home with her or whatever. And that night, her dad comes home drunk. He, like, goes out a lot, and, like, there's been some rumors about him getting fired from his job for stealing stuff, and the mom sucks, but the dad's also not very good either, and so she's like, I hate him. Like, she's already hated her mom. We've talked about it. There's been this, like, really inappropriate levels of, like, hatred for her mom. Maybe not inappropriate. Like, there's definitely reason for it, but it's, over exaggerated, you know, and then now it's just these, like, very, very strong emotions toward her father as well. And Joe, the imaginary friend, you know, talks her into chopping all of her hair off and is, like, encouraging of all of these negative feelings. And there was lots of hair on the bathroom floor when I was finished. Cutting it into a bob was Joe's idea. When I squinted my eyes in the mirror, I could pretend it was Taylor looking back at me, and that made me feel happy. I smiled, and she smiled too. I asked Joe what she thought, and she said I'd done something very clever because it means that so long as they have mirrors in Wales, I can take Taylor with me. And that is so creepy. Like, that is horrifying. When we go back to, like, current day and being New Year's Eve and stuff, her husband comes to visit her at midnight with a little thing of champagne, even though obviously she can't drink or anything, but he comes to say Happy New Year to her, and it's kind of sweet. And he's like, I know that you're in there, Amber, you know, like, I know you're there, and I know you'll come back, and I got this little secret camera that I'm gonna put in your room so that if you move or anything, like, I'll have it on video, and I can convince them that you're still in there. And it's motion activated, and we'll hide it in this little corner so nobody will know that it's here. And I don't know why he would need to hide it. I'm not sure what we're doing with, I don't know why we're being weird about having a camera in the room. But he does, you know. And then he props the little camera in there, and then he leaves. Back to Christmas Eve. She is being like, WTF, Edward, what are you doing in my home? And he's like, well, I figured that you wanted me to come and visit you because you left your keys at my flat. It was not a hotel, my bad. I think I said hotel earlier. It was his house. And she's like, I didn't leave my keys there. You took them out of my purse. And he's like, tomato. Also, that's, like, really rude of you to just, like, up and leave so quickly and not say goodbye. Again, just, like, really creepy, horrible, bad vibes. Victim blaming, all kinds of stuff, right? And he starts to, like, slap her and hit her and stuff and says, like, why must you always spoil everything? I've forgiven you for what you did to me years ago, but I won't let you make a fool of me again. And he begins to try to do more to her, and she says that she's pregnant to try to get him to stop. And before he can really, like, do anything else or react to this news, one of the doors opens in the house, like the back door to the house opens, and so they're being interrupted. And so he drops her to the ground and leaves quickly. And it's her husband, Paul, unexpectedly returning home. And so she tries to be normal, seem normal, appear normal, because she doesn't want to admit anything. Which is where I'm like, hey man, there's a point where you just fess up to all your sins and just call the fucking police. What are we doing right now? This man literally is, like, assaulting you and stalking you and breaking into your home. And I'm pretty sure, weigh out some pros and cons here, I think you're to the point now where, like, you just need to call the cops. I don't understand. And, you know, they're having a little bit of back and forth. And Paul talks about how he got a bunch of the Christmas decorations set up, and he went up in the attic and found them. And he's like, yeah, and also when I was up there, I found one of your diaries, or I found like a box of your diaries and stuff, of old notebooks. We are all just how many people highlighted this? 2,500 people highlighted. We are all just ghosts of the people we hoped that we were, and counterfeit replicas of the people we wanted to be. Okay. She says, I hope you didn't read them, I say, whispering. I could see his eyes. Wishing I could see his eyes to know what he's thinking and whether his next response is the truth. Of course not. Well, at least not when I realized what they were. I was so intrigued by the 1992 in big letters on the front of one of them, though. How old were you then? 10? 11, I reply. You should never read another person's diary, I add, sinking to the floor, closing my eyes and leaning my head against the wall. They're private. What the frick? And so we get another before diary entry chapter thingy majiggy from Christmas Eve of 1992. And it's the girl writing in her diary about how Taylor came to stay at her house last night and she's still here asleep up in my bedroom. Mom and Dad said she could stay one last time before we move. I threatened to cut my hair even shorter if they said no. We're moving out on the 27th of December so that Dad can start his new job the next day. I'll have to start at another new school in a whole new country in January. They don't even know which one yet. That's how little they care about me. Mom says Taylor can come and visit us in Wales once we're settled. Mom says things will be different this time. Mom is a liar. And her mom was just really embarrassing this particular day, and her dad came home drunk and made lots of noise, and she was super, super embarrassed by it. And then Taylor fell asleep upstairs, and everybody's sleeping now, and she's just up at like 1 a.m. writing in this journal diary thing. And randomly says, I'm not allowed matches. They are on the same list as scissors, but I have a whole box of them. I've had them for a while now. I took them from school the day that we learned about Bunsen burners. I learned a lot that day. I lit one match before I came downstairs. A little bit of me wanted Taylor to wake up so that we could do this together, but she didn't move. So I let her carry on sleeping. I liked the smell of the match burning so much I let it burn the ends of my fingers. I wanted the flame to extinguish itself. I've packed my school rucksack with all the important stuff. The 3 most important things I'm taking with me are my favorite books, including Matilda, Alice in Wonderland, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, my diaries, and my best friend Taylor. I'll never leave her behind because we're like 2 peas in a pod. Christmas Eve. 2016. She's, takes a shower and she's freaking out about her husband takes a bath rather, trying to relax after her husband had found the diaries, and she's like really afraid about him finding all of these diaries. And then she comes out and he's trying to be romantic and have dinner and like get the fireplace going. And then once he does get the fireplace going, he's like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. I bet that's like really triggering for you to see fire on Christmas Eve, huh? Like, I'm so, my bad. She's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't remind me of the accident. What? Accident? And he goes on to tell her about his whole book deal thing and about going on tour with it, and how he's like so excited for them to be doing this together, and how he's like so happy that they don't have anything to tie them down so that they can travel. And so she's like, oh yikes, okay, I guess I'm not telling him about the baby. Yeah. And then some more time passes or whatever, and he asks if she still keeps a diary, and she says no. And he's like, oh, maybe we should just read one for fun. I bet that would be really cool. And she's like getting very visibly upset about him asking about this, and like continuing to ask to read one, or to just read like one entry because he's curious what she was like back then. And she's getting very upset. And so he's like, why did you keep them if they upset you so much? I've spoiled the evening now, and I hate myself for it. I ruin everything. My face feels hot, and the flames look bigger to me somehow, as though it's only a matter of time before they reach out and burn what I've got left. I didn't. I found them in the attic at Mom and Dad's when I was clearing the house out last year. Paul puts his empty glass down on the coffee table next to the one that I've barely touched. I close my eyes so I can't see the flames, but I can still hear their screams. I thought we didn't have any secrets, he says. We don't. They're not my secrets. The diaries belong to Claire. Okay. Hold on. Let's... I'm sinking further down into my couch. So... This is exactly rock, paper, scissors. I was right in what I predicted, that the past timeline that we're being presented is not who we would assume it was. And that's why like the name never got mentioned, and like she never got said anything. So these are Claire's diaries, not Amber's. So then who's Taylor then? Is Amber Taylor? Or is that the same person? Because that doesn't really make very much sense either. Because in the flashback diary entries, she never talks about having an older sister or a younger sister because the mom had lost the one baby. She didn't have any other sisters or anything. So I would assume that Amber is Taylor, right? I also got a Coke Icy earlier on my way home to make me feel better. It worked. Oh, here we go. I could have just kept reading because literally the very next chapter. New Year's Eve 2016. Amber is thinking, my sister wasn't always my sister. She used to be my best friend. She always called me Taylor back then. Almost everyone called me by my surname because that's what I preferred. Amber always sounded like second best to me, like a traffic light. Red, amber, green. Red for stop, green for go. Amber meant very little at all. It was insignificant, just like me. I was convinced my name was the reason the kids at school didn't like me. They didn't call me Amber. They called me other names instead. It drove my parents mad at first. They tried to convince me that Amber was a precious stone, but I knew I wasn't precious. I wouldn't respond to anything other than Taylor for weeks. So in the end, they called me Taylor. Oh, so at the end, they called me that too. Things only changed when I got married. Taylor got rubbed out, replaced by Reynolds. They started calling me Amber again after that, and I felt like someone new. I remember my mom getting off the phone and telling me that I'd been invited to stay at Claire's house one last time before she moved. I didn't want to go. I was cross that she was leaving, but Mom said I should, said that it was the right thing to do. She was wrong. It was the biggest mistake I've ever made, and I've been paying for it ever since. Claire's mom got us pizza for our dinner that night. She wasn't much of a cook. I can still remember Claire screaming at her that I didn't like pineapple. She was terrifying when she got like that, out of control. I never spoke to my parents the way she did, and I always found it odd that they just let her get away with so much. Her dad wasn't around very often. He liked to gamble away what little money they had and was always losing jobs as well as bets. Her mom had a bit of a drinking problem and always seemed so sad and tired as though life had defeated her. She gave up on Claire as well as life in the end, and it made me realize that people who do nothing are just as dangerous as those who do. What? It made me realize that people who do nothing are just as dangerous as those who do. Okay. Claire wasn't popular at school back then. She was an angry child, angry at the world and almost everyone in it. She got jealous if I even spoke about anyone else, so I learned not to. I still think about what happened every day. I wonder if it was all my fault, whether I could have done something to prevent it. She was just a little girl, but so was I. Little girls are different from little boys. They're made of sugar and spice and scar for life. It's so fucking cringy. I've still got my scars. Just because they're on the inside doesn't mean that they're not there. I heard her get up and creep around the room that night. I had my back to her, but my eyes were open. I heard her light a match, and then I smelt it burn. I thought she must just be lighting a candle or something. The electricity sometimes went off at her house. Her parents always struggled to pay the bills. Then she went out into the hall. I waited a while, but when she didn't come back, I got up to see where she had gone. It was always cold in their house, so Mom had packed my new pink dressing gown. I wrapped it tightly around myself and tied a knot. She goes out onto the landing, and what do we got? Claire had turned on all of the gas stove. She turned on all the burners, and she was like letting the house fill up with gas, and then she was gonna light a match, and she sets the entire house on fire, makes the house explode. Cool. Oh, sorry. The house didn't explode exactly. It was like it just slowly burst at the back. There was a bang, not as loud as you hear in the films, but like the silence was pulled out from under the bricks. The front of the house looked exactly the same at first, but I could soon see the flames dancing behind the windows. We heard the sirens before we saw the fire engines. She was silent then. The smile slid off her face and tears ran down her cheeks. She cried for her parents for hours then, like a tap that couldn't be turned off. I've cried for them ever since. The smoke became part of me that night, so that no matter how many times I washed my hair or scrubbed my skin, I could still smell it. It twisted itself around my DNA and it changed me. She said she killed them for me. She said she thought it was what I wanted so that we could stay together, so that she could keep me safe. I've spent my life since wondering what it takes for a person to do something like that. She said she didn't love her. Oh, she said they didn't love her. I don't know if that's true. There are different kinds of love. One could never accurately describe them all. Some are easier to feel than others. Some are more dangerous. People say there's nothing like a mother's love. Take that away and you'll find there's nothing like a daughter's hate. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, so obviously she, like, set the house on fire, and then before she lit the match, like, she had turned on all of the burners and was getting gas in the house, and then she grabbed Taylor and their things and then, like, ran out across the street, lit a bunch of matches, threw them in the kitchen, shut the door, and then they got across the street and watched the house as it, like, went up in flames. Cool. So Claire killed her parents and then got adopted by Amber Taylor's family, right? And then also apparently that means that, like, Amber Taylor's mom isn't so great, because she's the one, right, that when she was talking earlier about how she was having troubles getting pregnant and she talked to her mom about it, and her mom was like, yeah, it's probably better because you're, like, so selfish and stuff, and, like, I never wanted kids, and how, like, Claire was a gift and the mom didn't like Amber Taylor, right? You remember that conversation happening? But that completely contradicts Claire's interpretation of their family, which, I mean, I guess would make sense, right? Like, the grass is always greener, and, like, if you're comparing to your current situation, I'm sure your friend's family looks better, and I don't know, maybe, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird. Okay, let me go read some more. I'll come back in a second. Oh, and I already greatly regret that. So we go back into 2016 New Year's Day. So shortly after her husband put in that little secret camera thing. I mean, I'm glad he did it, because Edward comes back and very graphically, violently assaults her for this entire chapter. I'm scrolling if you're listening on audio. I just scrolled a lot of a very specific, detailed scene of this comatose woman being assaulted. So I love that I had to consume that material. That really added something great to the story. That's definitely not, like, gratuitous violence. And there's, like, some sick shit that he does beyond that, like taking it a step further, that again is, you know, for what reason, dude? Anyway, he does all of this, and then she crashes. I think I might be dying, but I'm so tired of living that maybe it's okay. I allow my mind to power down. Far above me, beyond the cold black waves, I hear voices, but the words won't unravel themselves. Two of them swim down from the surface to find me. She's crashing. I crashed. Then we go to Christmas Day. So this is the day of the accident. We get to see what led to the accident. Let me read and come back. So Christmas Day, they go over to Claire's house to celebrate and whatnot. And Claire lives in, I hate this, Amber Taylor, I guess is her, like, actual name. Claire lives in Amber Taylor's parents' home. Keeping in mind, Amber Taylor's parents died, I don't know, what'd she say, like a couple years ago or something, in some, like, boating accident off the coast of Italy? I think, if I'm not mixing up my books, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And so Claire decided to stay in that house and, like, raise her family and stuff. And so they go over to celebrate. Claire's playing, you know, hostess and stuff, and Amber is sitting here watching all of this happening and stuff, and she's thinking about how calm Claire is, and how she definitely wouldn't be this calm if she knew that Paul had found the diaries. Because apparently Claire doesn't even know that Amber has them. She has no idea that Amber has even read them or anything like that. Christmas Day goes pretty smooth, like, overall, though. They play a bunch. Amber Taylor and her husband Paul. I feel like I'm saying, like, Frankie, what is it? Frankie Taylor? Who's from the Mormon Wives show? Amber Frankie Paul? No. Taylor Frankie. Yeah, Taylor Frankie Paul. Okay, I'm not crazy. So when I say Amber Taylor and her husband Paul, I feel like I'm having an aneurysm because I'm just picturing the Mormon Wives lady. I need to focus and get through this because we're on the home stretch and it's already 9 o'clock and I just want to go to bed and I want to be done talking about this. Amber and her husband play with Claire's twins. And there's like some talk about how Paul's going to be a great husband and she can't wait to tell him about the baby thing because he will be a good dad. And I don't know, just kid stuff. And they're having a good time and they all exchange Christmas presents and everything's going smooth. And she pulls Claire aside at one point because she doesn't want to go to the cops about this whole Edward thing. But she knows that if she tells Claire, that Claire will off the guy to protect her, right? Like, she'll take care of the problem. She did it before. She'll do it again. And so she pulls her aside, then she chickens out about telling her, and more time passes. Amber goes upstairs and puts the kids to bed with their dad. And when she comes back downstairs, her husband, Paul, and Claire are in the kitchen, a little too close for comfort, having little whispery gossip sesh. And it definitely feels, she thinks that they've been like caught red-handed. And it's just really, really awkward. Later that afternoon, her and her husband walk home in silence. He walks quickly so that I have to hurry to keep up with him. That seems kind of rude. But it starts to rain on the walk home. And they walk by the petrol station. It's closed now. Everything is closed. I've only ever been inside the place twice. The first time was a few weeks ago to ask a question. No harm in that. People ask questions all the time. The cashier studied my face a little harder when I had finished speaking, but he soon concluded that I wasn't about to rob the place. I didn't look the type. He told me that the CCTV was kept for a week and then automatically deleted. I thanked him, and then I waited a moment in case he had wondered why I wanted to know. He didn't, so I left. He forgot about me before I even walked out of the door. The second time was a little more recent. Madeline wasn't terribly grateful when I drove her home from work when she was sick the other day. After I helped her inside, she thrust her credit card at me and told me to fill her car up at the petrol station around the corner. She wasn't happy about the tank being almost empty and informed me that she wouldn't have time before work the following day. She assumed I'd be upset about her demands, so I arranged my face to fit her expectations, but secretly I was rather pleased with myself. It meant that the mouthful of petrol I'd endured in the staff parking lot when I siphoned her tank earlier that morning had not been in vain. The taste of diesel lasted for hours despite spitting it out straight away. I'd learned that trick at school, helping to clean out the class fish tank. What? Hold on a second. What's happening? Why is she doing this? Why does she have a bunch of gasoline? Why did she siphon gasoline out of Madeline's car? I'm just gonna have to read this to you, okay? She goes on to say about how Madeline, when she gave her the credit card and told her to fill the gas too, she was just talking shit and just saying really mean things to her and stuff. With that, she turned to continue her ascent up the stairs that I had once known and sat on. The house looked completely different since the fire 25 years ago. Of course it did. But the new stairs were still in the same place, and if I turned my head to the right, I could almost still picture Claire turning on the gas. She should have inherited this house after her birth parents died. She was sure that it was her nana, what her nana would have wanted, but her godmother, Madeline Frost, saw to it that she never got a penny. I thought about what Madeline had said to me as I filled up the car, and again as I bought the petrol cans filled them up too before putting them inside the trunk. I thought about what Madeline had said as I paid using her credit card, and I heard her words repeat themselves in my head as I cleaned the steering wheel and everything else that I had touched with a cotton cloth. As Paul and I walked together, but alone, past the road where Madeline lives, I turned to get a quick glimpse of her house. I realized for the first time that it looks just like any other. There could be a family inside, pulling crackers, playing games, creating memories with one another. There could be children, grandchildren, pets, noise, and laughter. There could be, but I know that there isn't. There is only one person inside, I'm sure of it. One sad, lonely, miserable mess of a person. A person who is only loved by strangers who believe in the version of her they hear on the radio. A person who will not be missed. So Madeline is Claire's aunt, who got them kicked out of their house because she contested the will. And then after the house burned down, moved into it and treated Claire like crap, right? And so that's why Claire got Amber Taylor to go and work at the radio company to ruin Madeline's life. But they live right around the corner, right? Because they're walking home. So it's these three houses, right? The house where Claire grew up at is literally down the road from the house where Claire lives at currently, which used to be Amber Taylor's childhood home. And then she lives in her own house, like down the other way of the road, I guess. So there's like these 3 houses all next to each other. So why are we waiting until now in our 30s to get revenge on Madeline? If you knew who she was and you knew where she lived and all this other stuff, why now all of a sudden in the last 6 months did Claire get Amber Taylor to get revenge? Did any of the words that I just said out loud make sense? We have like 30 pages left, right? This is just going to be chaos. I feel like I should almost just like read you the rest of this or something. I don't know. I don't know. The next chapter was just like a flashback to it was like January 7th, 1993, and they had the funeral for Claire's parents. And she's just like, honestly, kind of like happy that they're dead and stuff. And she's been staying with Taylor's family since the accident happened, and she doesn't feel any remorse, and she doesn't really care about what happened. Like, she's just like happy to be living in this family and in this house where she feels like she always should have been with in the first place. But Taylor is not taking it very well, right? Taylor being like witness to this, and like you said, hearing their screams and this fire, and like she's very, very traumatized. And this is what it's kind of like indicating, and like some habits and stuff that she's picking up, like to cope with this trauma, is the same like OCD habits that she's displaying as an adult. So that's kind of where that all began, where it got like worsened by this trauma and stuff. Just kind of an interesting thing to note. And then Taylor's parents ended up eventually like fostering her because her Aunt Madeline didn't want anything to do with her, which is like really, really sad. So we're in the now times, January 2nd, 2017. I'm just gonna read. I just have to read some of this stuff to you, right? So we're in Amber Taylor. Oh my freaking God. We're in Amber Taylor's head. I'm still alive. That's the first thought to voice itself inside my head. I don't know how, but I'm alive and I'm back. I'm not sure where I've been. It takes a moment to decide whether or not I'm happy to be here and what all this means. Edward tried to kill me, I'm sure of that, but I'm still alive. I suppose it must be hard to kill somebody that's already dead. Given my strong dislike for hospitals, I've spent a considerable amount of time in this one. Paul and I came here when we were trying for a baby. It's where my sister gave birth and where my grandmother died. She didn't die of cancer like Claire's Nana. She died of old age disguised as pneumonia when we were 30. Her death took its time and a toll on our fragmented family. We were temporarily united by overstretched grief and despair, but it flicked a switch on inside Claire that could not be turned off. The anger she had felt about her own Nana's death as a child returned. The recalled rage that she had suppressed for so long had grown over time. The hate still needed somewhere to go. Claire still needed someone to blame. That's when she traced Madeline. Imagine our surprise when she discovered who her godmother really was and where she still lived. Destroying Madeline became Claire's obsession, which in turn became mine. She became volatile again, mistrusting of everyone around her. The change in her mood increased the need for my routines, to be sure that everything was as safe as it could be when Claire was upset about something. They call it OCD. It's not a big deal, but it's got worse as I've gotten older. I had to visit this very same hospital once a week when I was a teenager. I used to meet a short man who liked to talk too much and listen too little. He always wore the same shoes, gray leather with purple laces. I spent a lot of hours staring at them. After 4 months of weekly visits, he told me that I had obsessive thoughts and demonstrated compulsive activities to process an inexplicable level of anxiety. I told him he had halitosis. I stopped seeing him not long after that. My parents gave up trying to make me better and instead focused their attention on Claire, the pretty grade A replacement daughter that they had saved, forgetting all about their faulty original that they couldn't fix. Me. I try to pull myself from the past back to present, not really wanting to be in either place. That's when I hear her crying. It takes me a while to translate the tears and to pinpoint where and when I am. And it's Claire's voice, and she's crying and apologizing to Amber, who's still in a comatose state, but she's saying, like, I'm so sorry, you tried to tell me about him, didn't you? I'm so sorry. The him being Edward, because again, the husband had just put that secret little nanny camera thing in the hospital room. He has a recording of Edward, like, assaulting his wife. very like violently assaulting his wife. Has it on video. So Claire is, apologizing and everything. And they went to Edward's flat, but he's not there like the police did and stuff, but he wasn't there and they haven't been able to like find him and stuff. It still feels like I'm underwater, but the murky liquid is becoming clearer and I'm getting closer to the surface all the time. And then there's more, because also now with like Edward being scared off, he's not continuing to administer the drugs that are keeping her in this coma. And so she's like coming more and more to, right? She's becoming more and more aware of her surroundings and everything that's going on and stuff. And so, yes, all of a sudden she's like, I can remember the night of the accident. I can remember it all now. I know what happened now. It wasn't me driving on Christmas Day and it wasn't an accident at all. I've been away. I don't know how long for, but I'm back now and I remember everything. And so we get the flashback to Christmas Day, 2016, early evening. So this is after her and Paul have returned from Claire's house. They're, oh God, this is escalating so quickly. He asks her to get him some like alcohol because he's very stressed out about coming back from Claire's house because her sister tries to dictate her life and tell her what to do all the time. And he's like, I don't understand why you let her boss you around and do all this stuff. And she's like, I don't know, babe, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh no, what is it? Sorry. Cut that. And he's like, I don't know why you let her boss you around all the time, like blah, 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 blah. And it's just so stressful and chaotic. And she tries to interrupt him. And she's like, hey, honey, I have something to tell you. And he says, if this is about your sister not wanting you to go to America with me on the book tour, I don't want to hear it. Did you tell Claire about the book thing? You told her about us going to America? Yeah, I did. You said we should be proud of it and we should tell people about it. And she's like, Paul, you shouldn't have done that. I told you not to tell her about any of that. He's like, why does it matter? I didn't even do it on purpose. It just came up because we talked about her diaries. She's like, what do you mean you told her about the diaries? Yeah, I mean, it just came up. She asked why I got you one for Christmas, and I told her about how I had found hers in the attic, and I thought that they were yours, and so I had got you that for Christmas. And, yeah, it was just, I didn't read them or anything. I only read that one line about you guys being two peas in a pod, and I quoted it back to her, but she didn't seem very happy about it. Like, she seemed really pissed off. And so Amber is like, Paul, literally, you shouldn't have done any of that. I told you not to say any of that. Like, she doesn't want me to leave. She doesn't want me gone. And if she knows that you read those, like, she's going to kill you. And he kind of laughs it off at first. But he doesn't understand that I'm not joking. She won't let anyone take me away from her. She never has. She's done terrible things to people over the years. Friends, colleagues, lovers, none of them good enough for me in her estimation. She thought I needed saving from every single one. I thought once the twins were born, once she had a family of her own, things might change, but they didn't. She held on more tightly than ever before. I think she was even a little pleased when I couldn't get pregnant, worried that my love for a child would somehow diminish my love for her. It was different with Paul, the celebrity author. She decided he was good for me, and she was delighted when he was happy to live less than a mile away. It was like a test, and he passed because he didn't try to take me away from her. But now he has failed. I feel sick. I know what she's capable of. I walk out of the room, find my phone, and dial Claire's number. Nothing. I try again, but it still goes straight to voicemail. He hasn't read them. Don't do it. You don't have to, I say as quietly as I can. Have you all lost your minds? Says Paul, appearing in the hallway behind me. We're talking about a kid's diaries. Maybe I should have read them. He says, if she calls you or turns up here, tell her I already burned them. Don't open the door and don't let her in. Where are your car keys? What are you talking about? I run over to the sideboard, opening up the drawers crammed full of odds and ends. Whatever happens, you're not to trust her. Do you understand? I find the spare set of keys. I grab my handbag without even checking what's inside and run to the front door. Amber, wait. He's too late. I'm already down the path, trying to make out the buttons on the car key through the dark and in the rain. I'm not wearing a coat, and I'm already soaking wet. Paul follows me outside. I'm still in his new Christmas slippers. He holds his phone up to his ear. It's me. Your sister's really upset. I think it's got something to do with you. Can you call me and we can try to sort this? I spin around and knock the phone out of his hand. It smashes on the driveway and he stares at me, his mouth open, and then looks up at me. What the fuck? Stay away from Claire. Can you hear yourself? You're acting fucking crazy. You can't drive. You must be over the limit. I'm fine. A light comes on next door, and I see our neighbors have come outside. I hadn't realized we were shouting. I turn to get in the car and drop the key. My hands are shaking as I bend down to find it, feeling around in the dark. When my fingers find their prize, Paul tries to stop me from getting into the driver's seat. I push him back, get inside, and slam the door, trapping his hand in the metal. He screams in agony, yanks it back, and I slam the door again. I put the key in the ignition and drive away. So that's how his hand got all goofed up. So that's one answer. That's one answer to our big questions. And then now in the current timeline, Tuesday, January 3rd, 2017. I'm going home for a bit, check that David hasn't killed the twins or vice versa, says Claire. Sure, Paul replies. Shit, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to even mention the twins, let alone it's fine. You sure I can't give you a lift? No, I'm not leaving her again, not this time. And then he reassures Claire that this wasn't her fault. I'm guessing the whole twins thing because they just lost the baby, right? He didn't even know that Claire was pregnant. And he had found out in the hospital that she had lost the baby and stuff, which is so sad. That is so sad. And she ends up coming to. He says that I love you, and he kisses her forehead, and he's so sorry that she had to go through all of this stuff. And she comes out of the coma and says, I love you so much. Oh, that's so sweet. She's awake. She's awake. She goes over to Claire's house to, not really confront her, but be hey, he didn't read them, don't kill my husband, basically. Claire's waiting for her on the porch. They have some very tense words back and forth, and it's very clear that Claire has it set in her mind that she needs to get rid of the problem being the husband. And she's I know he read them. And she's he didn't. I burned them and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And Claire's why do you even have them? Amber says, Mom and Dad kept all of your things in the attic, and after they died, I went up there to go and clear it out and stuff, but they didn't keep anything of mine. They only kept stuff of yours, and so I took the diaries with me so that I would have, something. I would have, something, or it really weird logic. I don't freaking know. And so that's why she got them, and that's how she got a hold of them and stuff. And why Claire had no idea that they were even, a thing. And then in the middle of them fighting and going back and forth and her pretty much begging her sister to not hurt her husband, she begins to bleed. She gets a really heavy pain, sharp pain in her stomach, and starts to bleed she's miscarrying, right? Claire sees her bleeding. She's oh my God, are you pregnant? Because she didn't even know, because Amber didn't tell anybody. Claire realizes this and she's you used to tell me everything. What happened to that? And her face goes really dark. And she's give me your car keys. I'll drive you to the hospital. It's 15 minutes up the road. Amber's no, please. We need to call Paul. She says, no, just give me your car keys. Get in the car. And she does, because I do everything that Claire tells me. What? What? When she's fully awake from her coma and stuff, Paul is there and helps feed her some food, and they have a chit chat, and she says she doesn't really remember anything. And then Claire is there to visit her, and Claire says sorry for everything, for all of it. Back to before. February 14th, 1993. It's Valentine's Day. And today's Valentine's Day, I didn't get any cards, but I don't care about that. I have a family now, a proper one, and that's all I ever wanted. I've even got a new name, Claire Taylor. I think it sounds nice. I call Taylor's mom, and I call Taylor's dad, and I think they like it. I like it. Everyone likes it apart from Taylor. She sulks all morning today in her bedroom, playing with the doll I gave her like a little girl. She calls the doll Emily and sits and talks to her when she thinks nobody can hear. After lunch, I asked to go to my room, and Mom said yes. I said I wanted to read my new book, and she believed me. Because it is a Sunday, we had roast dinner. We always have roast on Sundays. Today we had chicken, a whole one, with roast potatoes and puddings from Yorkshire, and lots of gravy. I ate all of mine. Taylor left most of hers. I would have eaten that too, but I was already so full up I thought I might burst. I could hear Mom asking Taylor what was wrong as I climbed up the staircase. They're always asking her what is wrong, and it makes me so cross. Nothing is wrong. She should be just as happy as I am and stop spoiling things. I passed Taylor's bedroom on the way to my own and spotted Emily sitting on the bed, her glass eyes looking right at me, and I remembered choosing her on one of the visits with the social worker. She was mine, really, and I could take her back if I wanted to. I had never seen a doll like her before, so real looking. She had shiny black hair, pink cheeks, a pretty blue dress with matching shoes. She looked precious. Perfect. I didn't like her. I don't remember picking her up or taking her to my room. I only remember looking down and seeing the compass from my pencil case in my hand and Emily on my lap with her eyes all scratched out. I wasn't sure what to do after that, so I took Emily by the hand and went out to the front garden. I'm too old to play with dolls, so I put Emily down in the road, her little feet tucked into the curb. I still felt very full from lunch, so I sat down on the front lawn and pulled out little tufts of grass with my fingers. The sun was shining and the sky was blue, but it was cold. I didn't mind, though. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to see. I got that feeling you get when you know someone is watching you, and I turned back to look at the house. Taylor was there in the upstairs window of her bedroom looking down at us both. Her eyes moved from me to the doll and back again, and she turned away, and I wondered if she would cry. She's always crying lately. The first car didn't touch Emily at all, and I felt cross about it. Cars don't drive down the road all that often. Taylor was there in the garden in time to see the second car, though, so that was good. It didn't miss. Its front left tire went over the doll's face, her hair getting caught up in the wheel. I watched as she went round and round and round and under. The back left tire went over it then too. But it left her where it found her, lying flat on the tarmac. Taylor stood next to me, still staring at the doll in the distance. Her face didn't change, her body didn't move, she just stood there. I carried on, pulling out blades of grass, rolling them up between my fingers, and started humming a tune without even meaning to. "Did you tell anyone?" I asked. She didn't ask what about, she just shook her head and looked down. "Good," I told her. "Bad things happen when you tell tales on people." She looked at me then, and her face was sort of blank. Not happy, but not sad either. I tapped the patch of grass to where I was next to where I was sitting, and eventually she came and sat down next to me. She wasn't wearing a coat, and I knew she must be cold, so I reached out to hold her hand, and she let me. I squeezed it 3 times, and she squeezed it 3 times back. I knew then that we were going to be all right, that nothing had changed. Not really. She got herself a bit lost, but I'd found her again. We might be sisters now, but we'll always be 2 peas in a pod. Bro, what the fuck are we doing? What is happening right now? And so we get our, final scene from Christmas night or whatever of Claire driving Amber Taylor to the hospital after bleeding and stuff. And Claire's driving like a maniac in the rain, right? And she's driving Paul's car, the husband's car. They're driving her to the hospital, and she's like, "You should have told me you were pregnant. You shouldn't have kept the diaries, and you're such a liar, and you're whatever. This is all your fault if your baby's dead." Jesus Christ, right? Like, that's a horrible thing to say. But also is like, everything is your fault, blah, blah, blah. You should have told me, and I can't believe you, da-da-da-da-da. And then all of a sudden slams on the brakes really, really hard, and that causes Amber to fly through the windshield of the car. And so that's the car accident. So then I'm like, so if she's in the passenger seat, slams on the brakes, goes through the windshield, you would be able to tell that she flew in from the windshield on the passenger side, right? Like, it would be very clear that she was not the driver, and she wouldn't have injuries like from the steering wheel on her that would be indicative of her being in the driver's seat. So did the crime scene investigation not happen? What do you mean they said that it was a single car accident? What do you mean that they didn't know that there was somebody else in the vehicle? What do you mean? Or did they, and that's why they thought Paul was there? That's why they blamed him? They think he was driving maybe and left or something, but then they couldn't, he had like an alibi or some shit? I don't know. I hate it here. And so now she's confronting Claire in the hospital room, right? She's woken up from the coma. Claire's visiting, says she's sorry for everything. And she's like, "You left me to die. Like, you got this accident, you left me to die." And she's like, "I'm so sorry. I was just scared. I'd been drinking and I shouldn't have been behind the wheel." "You were scared? You didn't even call for help?" She looks away. "I thought you were dead." "You hoped I was dead." "That's not true. Don't ever say that. I love you." "You need me. You don't love me. Those are 2 different things." "Do you know what would have happened if they found out I was driving? I have 2 young children who need me. I was pregnant and now I'm not." "I know. I'm so sorry. I would never deliberately do anything to hurt you. You know that." Have you told Paul that you were driving?" She says, "No." "Do you think that he would have let me in here if I had?" She's like, "It was an accident. I was trying to help you. I was trying to get you to the hospital. Don't you remember?" "I remember you fastening your own seatbelt, driving really fast, and then slamming on the brakes. I remember me flying through the air." I had to stop. No, you didn't. This is so annoying. She's like, yeah, I saw a little girl in the road, so I had to slam on the brakes to dodge this like little girl that was in the street. There was no child when I got out of the car. I never saw her. Either you imagined her or she ran away. Okay. Whole bunch of stuff about you didn't tell me the truth. Turns out Edward does work at the hospital, but he's not a doctor. He was taking odd jobs at different hospitals until he got this one. I think he chose this hospital to be close to you. Do you understand? I think he's been following you for years. I don't think this is over. Tell me where he lives. Amber's like, I don't remember. Yes, you do. Tell me. I won't let him hurt you again. I won't let anyone hurt you again. And then Claire's like, and I brought you a gift to remind you who you were and stuff. And it's this little like golden bracelet thing that was like a kind of a recurring thing. It got brought up a couple of times back in the past diary things. I don't give a fuck. I'm not telling you any more than that. It's just a little bracelet. And so she gives it to her. And it has like their birthday in it. Because again, remember, like Taylor and Claire had the same birthday. They were born at the same hospital a couple of hours apart. But then they keep referring to each other as like younger sister and all this other nonsense. And I'm so upset about it. Like it's all so purposefully coy and purposefully badly worded. And it's just so freaking dumb. This also feels very reminiscent of, what was the one by The Intruder by Frida McFadden? Almost an identical setup for stuff. The Intruder by Frida McFadden and Rock, Paper, Scissors. It's like if those combined, it would be this book. And I just like, I'm frustrated. I think I'm in the final chapter. I swear to fucking God if I'm not in the, nope, I'm not. Oh my God. She does not take the bracelet from her sister though. Or sister, friend, whoever the frick this person is, she doesn't take it. And so Claire leaves with the bracelet, okay? And then we skip to six weeks later, and it's February 15th, 2017. I stand at the end of our bed watching his face as he sleeps. Paul's eyes move beneath his closed eyelids and his mouth has fallen slightly open. He's aged over the last couple of months. The lines have carved themselves deeper, the circles beneath his eyes a shade darker than before. I'm watching over a fully grown man, and yet all I can see is a picture of vulnerability. I stand in the glorious silence that only the night can deliver and carefully consider whether I have made the right choice. I decide that I have. I won't let my past dictate our future. I've been home for just over a month now. After so long in the quiet darkness, it felt like sensory overload when I first left the hospital. The world seemed so fast, so loud, and so real. Perhaps it was always this way, and I just never really noticed it before. It took a while to adjust, to process it all. I've been to the site of the accident. A trauma counselor at the hospital thought it would be a good idea. There was a bunch of dead flowers by the tree. Someone kind must have thought that I had died that night. I think a version of me did. I am trying to move on. I have forgiven Claire now too, so much so that we offered to look after the twins while David and Claire had a romantic Valentine's celebration yesterday. I thought they deserved some quality time alone together. I even prepared a special meal for them. It was nice having the twins here. They had an afternoon nap in our spare bedroom. It was the first time that they slept here, and I kept checking on them to make sure that they were okay. I stood in the doorway and stared at their pink cheeks, wild tufts of hair, both dreaming away like two peas in a pod. I'd stuck some luminous stars on the ceiling, which they seemed to love. I kept turning the light on and off to show them that stars can't shine without darkness. They cried less than normal today, and Paul was so good at knowing how to keep them happy. Speaking to them in the right tone, always making everything better. The house is silent again now, and I check the time. It's 3:02 a.m. Even a few weeks later, there are still some side effects from the coma. I experience horribly disturbing nightmares, and I have trouble sleeping since I woke up. I creep downstairs, and Digby comes to meet me. We have a puppy now, a black Labrador. It was Paul's idea. I walk through the kitchen, glancing at the clock before beginning my routine. It's 3:07. I start with the back door and repeatedly turn the handle until I'm sure it's locked. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Next, I stand in front of the large range oven with my arms bent at the elbows. My fingers form the familiar shape, the index and middle finger finding the thumb on each hand. I whisper quietly to myself while visually checking that everything is switched off. My fingernails clicking together. I do it again. I do it a third time. The dog is watching me from the kitchen doorway, his head tilted to one side. I go to leave, lingering briefly, wondering if I should check everything one last time. Before I do, I look back at the clock. It's 3:15. There isn't time. I put on my coat, I grab my bag, and check the contents. Phone, wallet, keys, as well as a few other bits and pieces. I checked twice more before attaching Digby's lead to his collar and then making myself leave the house. Checking the front door is locked 3 times before marching down the moonlit garden path. I find that walking helps, and the puppy appreciates it whether it's night or day. Just a couple of blocks and some fresh air, and I can normally get back to sleep. Nothing else seems to work. I walk along the main road. Not a single light shines from any of the houses, as though everyone else has gone, and I'm the only person left in the world. I don't really care. Hold on, I'm skimming, see if there's more stuff to read to you. She goes over to Claire's house, and she goes inside, take out my key, and head inside of their house. I check on Claire and David first. They look so peaceful, lying completely still, facing away from each other. I think that's supposed to mean something, them lying like that, something about their relationship, but I can't remember, and it doesn't matter now anyway. I check David's pulse. There isn't one. He's already cold. I move around to the other side of the bed to check on Claire. Her pulse is weak, but she has one. I guess he ate more of the meal that I made them. The bag of drugs from the hospital seems to have worked. I had my doubts, but then if a hospital porter can figure out this stuff out with the help of the internet, it really shouldn't be beyond someone like me. I walk to the children's bedrooms before coming back to Claire. The sound of the twins crying shatters the silence. I lean down closer to the bed, hoping she can hear them. I whisper in her ear, 2 peas in a pod. Her eyes open and I jump back from the bed. She looks toward the sound of her children screaming down the hall. I relax when I realize she can't move anything other than her eyes. They're wide and wild as she stares in my direction with a look that I've never seen in them before. Fear. I hold the petrol can up so that it's within Claire's field of vision. She looks at it, then back to me. I study my sister's face one last time, and then I take her hand in mine, squeezing it 3 times before letting her go. I never was fond of gas, I say before leaving the room. Okay. I don't know if I'm laughing or crying. The next chapter is the same day at 4 a.m. I take a different route home, a slight detour with Digby in tow. It's cold and I walk a little faster when I hear the fire engines. I think about Edward, perhaps because of the sound of the sirens. The police never did catch him. I remember... Oh my gosh. It's 10 o'clock, guys. I'm staying up past my bedtime. I remember the afternoon when Detective Handley came to the house to tell me what they had found. He sat down on our sofa with such gentle consideration as though not wishing to disturb the air in the room or dent the cushions. He refused my offer of tea with a polite shake of his head and then paused for a long time, visibly searching for the right words and deliberating the order in which they should be spoken. His skin turned a wider shade of pale as he began to describe the traces of blood and burned skin that had been found inside of the sunbed at Edward's flat. Claire didn't have an alibi for the night the neighbors said that they heard the man screaming. Neither did I, but it didn't matter. Nobody ever asked where either of us were. A possible accident, the detective thought, and suggested that something might have short-circuited. I remember nodding as he spoke. Something or someone most likely did. There was no body, no neat conclusion. Sometimes things just have to get messy in order to be cleaned up. So, assuming, they somehow killed Edward in his tanning bed at his house? Maybe. My thoughts shift to Madeline as I turn a corner onto the main road. I think of her often since I woke up. I passed the petrol station where I bought the petrol over 2 months ago. The CCTV of that day will have been deleted now, but the records will show that it was paid for with a credit card belonging to Madeline Frost. She was always giving me her credit card to buy her lunches or pay for her dry cleaning, but I used it for a lot of other things too, including an extra set of her house keys when she asked me to get a spare cut for her new cleaner. Taking a job that was clearly beneath me was useful for things like that, but the best part about it was knowing Madeline's schedule because as her PA, I created it. I knew where she was every minute of the day, weeks in advance, and I knew when she didn't have an alibi. The final blackmail note that I delivered before the Christmas party had Claire's name on it, so there would be no misunderstandings about who was responsible. Madeline was toast after her epic fail on the lunchtime news, which went far better than planned and exceeded my expectations. The face of Crisis Child said so many awful things on live television that the small matter of her abandoning her orphaned goddaughter and stealing her inheritance seemed trivial in comparison. But I hadn't finished with Madeline yet. I'd always thought of blackmail as something ugly, but this was something else. This was beautiful. This was justice. People think that good and bad are opposites, but they're wrong. They're just a mirror image of each other in broken glass. I've rehearsed my lines for the police. I've written a letter from Madeline to Claire where she threatens to deal with her in the same way she dealt with her parents. I'm well practiced at writing letters from Madeline as her PA, so I'm confident the handwriting will be a perfect match. Claire never read it, of course, but when the time comes, I'll explain how she gave it to me for safekeeping just in case the unthinkable ever happened. Everyone thought Madeline would lose the plot if she stopped working. That job was all she had. They'll all think that they were right when the police find the empty petrol cans securely locked inside her shed. They'll find the pen used to write the letter to Claire on the oak desk in her front room. They'll find everything that they need to. What the fuck? So this has all been premeditated. This is all, like, she from the beginning knew that she was going to burn down Claire's house, that she was going to kill Claire at the end of this, right? I arrive back at home. I let myself in quietly and take off my coat at 4:36. I'm slightly earlier than I expected. And also, so then, like, the twins were in the house. She set the house on fire with the children there and Claire and her dead husband that she poisoned. She poisoned them with maybe the comatose food or whatever dosing thing. And then the children were there and alive, and she doesn't have them right now, so she just set the place on fire with gasoline? And then just said, F them kids? Anyway, she gets home. She takes a shower. One of the twins starts crying. I pop Digby down on the carpet and rush up the stairs to comfort them. Earlier, when I was trying to record the sound of them screaming, they were all smiles. But we got there in the end. It's light in their room now. Okay, so she had a recording of the children crying. And so she was just playing a recording of the children crying to, like, mentally torture her sister before she killed her. That's crazy. That's crazy. It's light in their room now. I pull the curtains back and look out at the new dawn spreading itself over the streets and houses below. Paul is still sleeping, so I take the twins downstairs and make them some breakfast. I sit them in their high chairs and worry about them being too cold in our house. I have another idea and decide it's a good one. Don't worry why I didn't think of it before, really. I don't know why I didn't think of it before, really. The flames dance in the fireplace. I pick up the diaries one at a time, looking through the pages before I throw each of them into the flames. I pause briefly over the final one. I run my index finger over the 1992 written on the front, then turn to the last few pages at the back. I can't read the words at first. They stick in my throat. But I make myself do it. Just one last time, I let my eyes translate Claire's words from that night, the night that changed everything. Taylor told me to do it. I tear out the page and screw the paper into a ball before throwing it into the fire. After I have watched it burn to nothing, I throw on the last of Claire's diaries. The twins and I sit and watch until everything their mother wrote is nothing but smoke and ash. So Taylor told Claire to kill her own parents so they could continue being two peas in a pod and all this other stuff? So she's been the mastermind of all of this? And again, she had those petrol cans for 2 weeks. She was buying stuff and doing these letters and planning all of this stuff for weeks in advance. Like, she came prepared to kill her sister. What is happening? There's one final chapter. I'll just read the rest of that out loud as well. Hold on. Our final chapter of the book is later. It's in spring of 2017. I've always delighted in the free fall between sleep and wakefulness, those precious few semi-conscious seconds before you open your eyes when you catch yourself believing that your dreams might just be your reality. For now, for just a second longer, I'm enjoying the self-medicated delusion that permits me to imagine I could be anyone, I could be anywhere, I could be loved. I sense a shadow cast itself over my eyelids, and they immediately flick open. The light is so bright that at first I don't remember where I am. For a moment, I think I'm back in the hospital room, but then I hear the sound of the sea, calm waves gently lapping over at the edge of the white sand in the distance. I hold my hand up to shelter my eyes from the sun, and I find myself staring at the branches of lines etched into my palm and the fingertips my skin has remembered for all these years. What a stupid way to say finger, like, prints. It knows who I am, my skin, no matter how uncomfortable it has been to wear. I sit up where I hear the children, their infectious laughter dancing inside my ears until a smile spreads itself across my face. It doesn't matter that I didn't give birth to them. They are mine now, and I know that water can be thicker than blood if you let it. I scold myself for falling asleep when I should have been watching them, but I relax a little once I've looked around the beach. Apart from a couple of palm trees, we have the place to ourselves. There's nobody else here, nobody to be afraid of. I try to relax. I lean back in the chair and knit my hands together, resting them on my lap. When I look down, it's my mother's hands that I see. I look back over at my niece and nephew and decide that I will always love these children the same, no matter what they do, no matter how they change, no matter who or what they grow into. The hot sun warms my skin and lights our new life. Our own little corner of paradise for a couple of weeks, a stopover before Paul needs to be in America. I turn back toward the hotel, wondering where he is. We booked a room on the ground floor right on the beach so that we could just step out into the sun during the day and sit beneath the stars at night. It's enormous, more of a suite than a room, really, and we hardly ever see anyone. Okay, do I give a fuck about any of this? Paul hasn't adjusted to our new life as quickly as I hoped, but he adores the children, loves them as though they are his own. Paul was on the phone with somebody. She asks who was that. He says no one, still avoiding eye contact. Well, it must have been someone. I struggle to hide the irritation in my voice. This is supposed to be a holiday, a chance to spend time together as a family, not hide away in here, staring at words and speaking to his agent. I look back at the children. They're fine, so I turn back to Paul. He's looking at me now, the corners of his mouth turned upward. It was supposed to be a surprise. Your shoulders are red. Do you need some more cream on? What was? I've ordered a little something for room service. And it's champagne to celebrate their anniversary. I don't know. He goes to take a shower and she starts watching TV. I notice that Paul has left the TV on again. It's silent, but a familiar image catches my eye and I stop, unable to look away. I see a news correspondent I used to know standing outside the courthouse. TV crews and more reporters jostling for space on the pavement around her. The picture changes to the image of a police van driving through a gate to get inside the building. Then I see shots of Claire's house, the house we grew up in, blackened and burnt. I read the words scrolling at the bottom of the screen, a string of capital letters silently screaming at me. Madeline Frost's murder trial begins. Even with the mute button switched on, the TV is far too loud. I don't know why he insists on having it on in the background all the time. It's like an obsession. I switch it off and turn back to say something to Paul that he's already started a Skype call with his agent. The sound of the dialing up has become so familiar. It stops and he starts speaking on his laptop before I get a chance to say anything. I go to the bathroom. I don't really care. Takes a shower. She gets dressed. I hate how long all of this is. Okay, hold on. Hold on a second. So like I said, they have room service delivered, right? And it's like this like champagne to celebrate. And on the tray is the bracelet. The childhood bracelet that Claire had that she wouldn't take from her or whatever, and then Claire took back with her. It is now on the serving tray at this hotel thing that they're at. For a moment, the words won't form. Did you see who delivered this to our room? I was still on Skype. They just came in and left it on the side. Why? What's wrong? I don't answer. I'm transfixed by the thin bracelet on the tray, small enough for a child's wrist. It's held together with an old blah, 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 and my date of birth engraved on the gold. My name is Amber. Taylor is crossed out. Reynolds. There are 3 things you should know about me. I was in a coma. My sister died in a tragic accident. And sometimes I lie. So is Claire still alive? Is that what that means? If the bracelet's there, or maybe it was from Edward because he got away, right? Is he still stalking her? But why would the bracelet come into play if that's the case? Was Paul sleeping with Claire? Was that ever a thing, or was that just like a red herring? I don't know. Guys, I don't know. I don't think a book has ever, like... I literally want to cry. I'm, like, just so frustrated by this. There's so many, like, unanswered weird things and, like, purposefully, like, internal dialogue not dialoguing to leave the reader in the dark, but that's not how people think, and that's not how people write, and that's not how any of this would work, and like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, none of this makes any sense. Finally finished this book this month, but at what cost? Yeah, A fucking men. Yeah, I'm trying to look at the reviews. I'm seeing what my quite a few, like, friends and people I follow on Goodreads rated this, like, 4 stars, 3 and 4 stars. Yeah, a bunch of people raving about this. I don't get it. I just don't get it. This book almost, like, killed me, dude. And not in, like, a fun way. You know, not in like a fun, hot way, just in like a, you know, if I could be more horizontal, I would. I don't get it. That's all I'm going to say. I don't have anything else. There's nothing else I can add other than I'm upset. I hope you enjoyed it or I don't even know. I hope you got some good chores done. Hopefully this made your work day go by or something and I was able to keep you company, because that's about the only good thing that could have possibly come out of this is just time passing. Okay, it is, like I said, it's 10 o'clock, 10:20 now. I gotta go to bed. I gotta cut this together. I gotta download it. I gotta send it over. I gotta do some shit, and I'm going to freaking sleep. And I'm not reading another Alice Feeney book ever a fucking again. That's my review. I'm never touching another book by this author. I cannot do it. Let me know your thoughts below. As always, I'm always interested to hear whatever you guys are thinking. Your crazy thoughts along the way. And like I said, thank you so incredibly much to the Spotify and Apple Podcast peeps. You guys are phenomenal. Please continue rating the show. And if you're on YouTube and you made it this far, thank you so much. I so greatly appreciate you as well. I love you so much. And of course, love the channel members and the patrons and the Bindery besties and everything like that. The continued support that you guys, everybody, shows for the channel is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm so incredibly grateful from the bottom of my heart. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.